week in Major League Baseball. Annie Halbrun's here. Good morning.
Good morning, Craig. How are you?
I'm doing great. What's new?
Not much. Just excited for this week. A lot going on.
Yeah. What'd you do this weekend?
Little friends, little family, little work, the usual. Some chores.
Okay. All right. There it is. Little bit of everything. Braden Suprenet's here as well. Good morning, Braden.
Good morning, Craig. How we doing?
Doing wonderful. Thank you. Locked and loaded. We got a huge show today. It's a beautiful morning. I'm excited to talk about a whole lot of things in the world of sports with y'all. Where do you want to start today? Aztecs in the Sweet 16. Padres get started on Thursday. We got a lot of things going on. Giant sports weekend right behind us. What tickles your fancy?
I love the Aztecs winning against Yale, dominating game, headed to the Sweet 16 again. Always seem to do well in Spokane. Thought it was a great game. Trammell, Ledee, defense was fantastic. Like, just a lot to take away from that game. And I loved Brian Dutcher's honesty at the end of it too. Shooting had not gone well for them, he told the sideline reporter, but they hit some threes yesterday and just a nice dominating win.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, we go through the entire regular season and all the ins and outs, and in the end, none of it matters. If you make the tournament, literally none of it matters. And it all just comes down to now, like what happens in this weekend. And that defines whether you had a great season or kind of a bummer, disappointing season. If the Aztecs had lost to UAB, it would have been kind of a bummer, disappointing season. When they were down 3, midway through the second half and they had blown that lead, you had that feeling like, wow, is this whole year going to teeter and totter and fall down? And we're going to look back and go, yeah, Ledee was good, but that team just didn't have it that year. Yeah. Well, they pull that game out, and then all of a sudden, it's like the dominoes of 2023 are just waiting there to be topped down and to have the exact same path open itself up to the Aztecs. And lo and behold, it does. The 4-13 game that, just like last year, they had won their game. They're waiting to go into it, and all of a sudden, whoa, 13 gets the upset. Same thing happens here. Auburn was going to be a tough matchup for the Aztecs. They're long, they're physical, they're tough. They're a team that could have brought it against San Diego State in the second round. And instead, Yale does their one time. They hit their one time. They get the big win. They have the big celebration. Even if the coach was saying, don't over celebrate, you can't help it. You're the Bulldogs. You're Ivy League. You just beat an SEC team. You're going crazy. And then you run into the Aztecs. And it was men and boys, or at least muscular men against less muscular men. Yesterday, the Aztecs just had their way. That was bully ball.
Yeah, Yale was definitely outmatched. From the start, this was a different scheme than the Aztecs are used to. They led by 23, I think, in the first half. Fans aren't quite used to seeing that, but they did what they needed to do. They absolutely outmatched, outplayed Yale, and they kept it up for the game. They were able to sub in guys, get some work for everyone. I felt like it was just a good overall win, the kind of win that you want to take into what is hopefully a magical run. Now, they're going to have their work cut out for them, no doubt about it, against UConn. So favored, I think, over the Aztecs 10.5. I'm seeing it, at least in the chat right now. It's definitely going to be an underdog thing. But if you're playing your best basketball in the NCAA tournament, bring it on. I mean, there are a lot of things that we saw didn't go well for the Aztecs this year. You wanted them to clean a lot of things up. But if this is where everybody tightens it up and steps up to the challenge in the moment, I don't think anyone's going to complain about that.
And so once again, the 2023 dominoes are falling the same direction. The Aztecs have the tough 5-12 game. They get through it. They get the lucky break. They get the 13 upset. The 13th seed rolls in, makes it almost, I don't want to say a pass. They were all out there. They were playing great, but the Yale wasn't going to win that game.
Sure.
Like, they were just never going to win that game. Maybe if it was the first game and they had all their legs and they had all their schemes and could surprise the Aztecs with something. But I'm sorry, Coach Dutch and those guys are the best in the business when it comes to getting into the hotel room in between game 1 and 2 of the weekend and really sussing out the single things that they need to do. And in this case, it was just impose your will. Ledee could have scored, honestly, 45 points yesterday if he wanted to stay in and rack it up.
Yeah, exactly. It was just guys, like you said, kind of bullying and beating up, and credit to Yale. I agree. Good for them for making it to that round, for advancing, for playing the Aztecs. But you felt like in the first 5 minutes of that game, this Aztecs are going to run away with this one.
And now here's the number one team in the country waiting in the Sweet 16. And just like last year when the Aztecs were taking on Alabama, and it's like, okay, well now, here it is. This is the moment where it's all going to come to an end. Nice run. That's cute. Here's Alabama. You're going to lose. Brandon Miller's there. Everything's going to happen. Aztecs won that game, stunned everyone, and had a path to the Final Four. Now it's the team they lost to in the national final. UConn, number one in the country. They've been convincing in all their wins, and this is going to be in UConn's backyard at TD Garden in Boston. NBA Arena, home of the Celtics, very short trip from Stores for a 4:30-ish tip-off on Thursday, right after the Padres hopefully have wrapped up an opening day win over the Giants.
It's going to be a heck of a day for sports in San Diego. And yeah, that would be your ideal scenario, right? You go from one victory to another. Everybody, all the fans get to watch a baseball game and then a basketball game and tournament time. It's what you could ask for. I mean, it's really it should be a lot of fun, but it's going to be a tough one, no doubt about it. UConn is a big match to go up against, but like you said, last year you saw the Aztecs pull away and get the wins in those. So definitely not out of their hands.
No, and they've got the defense to try and, be in the game. Here's what I'm worried about. I already met, in poker, not to draw too many analogies, but there's something called the one time. Have you ever heard about the one time?
No.
You're in a tournament, and they're in a tournament right now, the Aztecs. You're in a tournament, you can ask the poker gods one time to bail you out. Like, you're all in, you've got the better hand, you say one time. I need to catch something one time. And the key is you can only do it one time. Like Yale used their one time in the first round to beat Auburn. It's like one time, let's get this thing. I kind of feel like in a key stat, the Aztecs unwittingly used their one time yesterday. They shot 13 for 27 from downtown. They shot like the Golden State Warriors from downtown for one game. And it was the one game they really didn't need it. They could have won the whole game just banging inside in the glass, but they hit 13 of 27.
Getting their confidence, their feel up.
Maybe. But that's what you need to beat UConn. Period. You need to go 13 for 27 from three while Jaden Ledee is doing damage down low to have a chance of beating UConn. You're going to have to hit threes from everywhere. So I like your way of thinking that this is a momentum building, confidence creating, all of a sudden they're a 3-point shooting team. They've done it. Now they're going to do it again against a way better opponent. They're going to do it again. But I'm afraid that it's going to be 4 for 27 against UConn, and just because that's what the Aztecs kind of normally shoot, somewhere around there.
As long as they can hold UConn and outscore them, I don't care how they get them, right? But yeah, they're going to need to obviously come from all angles on that one. I mean, UConn's going to be completely on top of the Aztecs, or at least trying to be. So, yeah, you're probably right about that. But if you're gonna, carry some of that vaunted momentum into a game, at least you have a little of it.
They do. And great win for the Aztecs. Congratulations, San Diego State. Well done. Outstanding stuff. Sweet 16 is, do they hang banners for Sweet 16, Braden?
Everybody hangs banners for every round. But yes, they will have some
for everybody every round, like Kentucky.
I'm sure Kentucky won't because they have all the other ones. But they usually, whatever you finish, the last thing you finish in is usually the banner you hang up. So making the NCAA tournament's a big deal. But they have Sweet 16, Elite 8 banners at Viejas. So yes, hang a banner.
Hang a banner.
Won your bracket.
Sweet 16. Took care of the weekend. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
It takes 3 days. That's it. In this case, it'll be a Thursday, Saturday this weekend. Like, if you can do it, boom. Saturday, you're a Final Four team. And then you've had the second most magical season in Aztecs history back to back.
I mean, yeah. If they're making it past this round against UConn, I mean, there's a lot of reason to celebrate already.
Yeah, hang up, we beat UConn banner.
That's fair.
They've never done that.
Oh my God, you're so right.
Every
time our tournament,
three times now.
Every time in the tournament. And then every time in the tournament that they've won, they've gone on to win it all.
Don't be surprised if Ledee's got 2 fouls the first 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah, that's something to watch.
That's definitely something to watch. Just look at Utah State and Purdue yesterday.
Yep. Yep. Which, by the way, yeah, sayonara to everyone else in the Mountain West. Now the Aztecs truly backpacking the conference as they've been doing for years and years now in the NCAA
A
tournament.
tradition like none other. San Diego State carrying the conference and getting nothing in return from the conference. At least Boise State football gets more money in a TV contract. San Diego State gets nothing.
Yeah.
For carrying their sorry ass for the last 5 years.
The Aztecs just get a hearty clap on the back.
That's right. You complain as much as you want, Boise State.
JD Wicker gets a very nice email and maybe is offered, to be bought a drink at the bar after the game or something. Like, that's about it. Mountain West commissioner's like, let me take you out to a very nice dinner. I'll tell you.
Complain about your first 4 appearances as much as you want, Boise State, but you still can't win in the NCAA tournament.
Unreal. All right. So good stuff for the Aztecs. Gets us started today. We've got a big show lined up. Boy, and that's the thing about the weekend. I always feel like Monday's show is almost a race. Like we've only got so much time. So much happened. All these things pop up out of nowhere. Like, I've been sending you guys emails all weekend long. Like, here's this thing. Here's that thing. I get so excited. And then, like, all of a sudden, Monday's over. You're on to Tuesday, and you don't want to go back and talk about all the things from the weekend then, because now it's Tuesday. Why are you going back and talking about the weekend? We're into the week now. So it's a race. Can we get everything cool from the weekend into today's show? I think we can.
I think we're going to be able to do it.
Think we can. I'll try to go in a persuasive manner. Here's what we got going on today's show. Let's line it up for you. We've got one guest coming up a little bit later. It was a huge weekend in the world of soccer. And in fact, there are multiple very exciting stories that are percolating in the world of soccer. San Diego Wave played to an NWSL record home opener crowd, did not get the W, lost 2-1 to Kansas City Current, gave up a 1-0 lead in the first half, lost on a penalty kick in the second half. Tony Sanchez, who is one of our top soccer journalists here in San Diego, works at San Diego Punto Football, also the Two Balls and a Mic podcast, longest running soccer podcast here in San Diego. He was there on Saturday night. Last night down in Dallas, U.S. men's national team wins the CONCACAF Nations Cup for the third time, beat Mexico 2-0 in the final. Some incredible goals in that match. We'll talk about that and the direction of the men's team. Plus, they had it at San Diego Football, F-U-T-B-O-L. Rumors that the Mexican national team goalkeeper, Guillermo Ochoa, who the United States team just beat last night. Yes. Nonetheless, that the aged veteran Ochoa is targeting San Diego FC as his next place, his next club, and that he could be the opening night keeper for San Diego FC in February 2025. So that's a very exciting rumor. One of the things we've been talking about all the way. MLS comes to town. It means designated players are coming. It means international superstars will be on the roster. You never know who until a club signs one. So here's our first rumor. Is it Ochoa? Is Ochoa too old? Is Ochoa exciting? There's so much to ask. So we'll talk about all that at 1 o'clock. 10:35 later this hour, we'll do What's Good. Each one of us brings something from the weekend that we thought maybe got a little bit overlooked, or something that's a good news story to talk about. Man, I've got a good news story in What's Good. Can't wait for it. 11 a.m., we will bring you some of the sound from Peter Seidler's Celebration of Life in our daily Padres deep dive, including AJ Preller confirming the Sage story that we had brought you on Hot Tub last year. And I mentioned it very early in this show's course. And you guys looked at me and went, what the hell are you talking about? Now you all know I wasn't making anything up. The Sage story was confirmed. No one else had it. It's okay. We'll do that at 11 o'clock. 12 o'clock Sports Fix is always jumbo stuffed on a Monday because it's got all the weekend's results from all the teams. Match Game is our silly game coming up. We'll say a little earlier, more like 12:40. We've busted the clock because of tiebreakers the last 2 times. So try and tuck that in a little closer to 12:40 than 12:45 to give it the space that it is needed. And we'll wrap up the show with Ask Us Anything at 1:35. So it should be a fun one today. Let's take a break. We'll talk some Padres on the other side. Annie and Elsten underway on The Fan. 1021 on the Fan. Welcome back. It's Andy and Elsten here with you, reminding you to join us for opening day this Thursday. Padres home opener against the San Francisco Giants. We're going to be broadcasting live from Baja Rick's Cantina. That's located on the corner of 6th and L in the gas lamp right by the yard. Festivities kick off at 6 a.m. Ben and Woods will be there with a full breakfast menu from 6 to 10. And then Annie and I will be there from 10 until noon. We're going to have tickets for the Padres Cardinals game. That is the 97.3 The Fan Poncho giveaway game on April 2nd. Plus, there'll be Blue Moon Coors Light Topo Chico specials. That's Thursday, Baja Rick's Cantina, corner of 6th and L in the gas lamp. Brought to you by Blue Moon. Please celebrate opening day responsibly. I mean, that makes sense. It's going to be 10 in the morning. What are you going to do?
It's opening day. People are going to be hitting it early.
I know, all gas, no brakes on an opening day.
Tailgates, getting to park and hang out, and I don't know. It'd be interesting down there.
Yeah, I heard the boys this morning talking about Corey's annual tailgate, and I don't know, with us off at 12, might be able to sneak past that. The thing about Corey's tailgate is like you don't have to be there long because the concentration of what he usually is drinking is of the nature that it doesn't take much, doesn't take a whole lot in order to get that mood just to where you want it, if you want it to be that way. Not for nothing, another reason why I kind of like Tony Gwynn opening day, too.
Yes, I love Tony Gwynn opening day.
Because everyone treats opening day like such a ass party. Like, we're just going to go crazy, man. I'm like, it's 1 of 81.
Yeah. Calm down. Pace yourself.
1 of 81.
80. We only get, right? We had to sacrifice one.
That's right.
Gosh darn it, you're
2
right.
years in a row.
You're right.
Had to sacrifice a home game.
Blew it. That's okay. The Soul games were worth it.
Split.
I guess.
It's fine. If they would have got swept, it wouldn't have been worth it.
Yeah, I agree.
Although they won the road game and lost the home game, technically.
You know, I had a
Road Warriors
buddy of mine, Monty, who is kind of the commissioner of all the Padres hot tub fantasy leagues. He made the plunge. He took the trip to Seoul.
Nice.
And he went to the games at Gochuk Sky Dome. And then before he left, he went to a Twins game, the defending KBO champions who the Padres played in one of those exhibitions. And he sent on our Discord some videos from that game. And it was like the atmosphere was, I'm not kidding, like 8 times better than what was inside the Sky Dome. Like the energy that we were like, oh, wow, Korean baseball, listen to the drums. Looks like it was nothing compared to what he, like being up in the upper deck and everyone is singing the song for the batter throughout. And it's like a song and like singing it throughout the at bat and 30,000 people going at once, like a European soccer match, but like going all the time. It was crazy to see that level. Charisma's in the chat. She was at Seoul. I'd love to get your opinions or like your review, Charisma, if you want to share it anytime. Hop on the show and share that with us because I'd be fascinated. It seems like what we saw was one thing, and then like when you see the real KBO product, you're like, whoa, that's what they wanted to have.
Yeah, Charisma let me know that the Padres-Dodgers game was quiet. I know I mentioned last week, it just wasn't the same kind of scene that they have for the KBO games. They don't have the songs for the players. They don't have everything kind of the way that they have it for those KBO games. So I know that they found some scenes, some more exciting scene like outside of the Sky Dome.
Yeah.
So...
Well, that's what I had heard too. Yeah, same thing, Charisma, that it was really, really quiet inside. And if you think about it, it makes sense if 2 Korean teams came to San Diego to play, like maybe we'd go out of curiosity. Maybe some local supporters group would try and come up with a song or something, but like we wouldn't know what to do. Yeah. And so what's the connection? Like, okay, maybe they had a connection to Hasang, or maybe, there was a lot of Dodger fans just because you picked a team, just kind of like randomly people pick European teams here. But honestly, it makes sense that there would be a little bit more of a sit back and watch and, we'll just take in your game and enjoy it. So I don't know if the players got the full Korea experience.
Yeah, I think they got a little more of it during the game against the KBO teams than maybe they did in the actual Padres Dodgers games. And certainly they had like the K-pop dancers and singers. They had different kind of elements of culture there, but I don't think it was at all, or it sounds like it wasn't, the kind of atmosphere you would get if it's two Korean baseball teams playing each other. They had a chant for Manny. I think they did a song for Manny, but they didn't have one for like every guy on both teams. They probably couldn't do that and get the whole audience to know what they were doing. So, but it is pretty cool. Like they do a song for every player, and instead of it being like a walk-up song, like it's that guy's song. Like that is their walk-up song, is the chant for the player and things like that. So it's good they got to have a taste of it. But yeah, I think it's cool that your friend got to see an actual game that was just, not I guess for MLB, but was just for what Korean baseball does there.
Yeah, just the real thing,
Mm-hmm.
and the real thing was like apparently way better. So interesting to note.
Yeah, I think by the second game, and I didn't go back and watch it, so I could be totally off base here, but I think by the second game, they had started putting in like more of the American things that happen between hitters and things like that, because I think the first game, it was just like totally quiet. They just didn't have much of anything going on, but I might be off base there. It was 3:00 in the morning. I could have been hearing things as well. So.
Oh, Charisma says, I think they should have shown or taught us the chants before the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Hand out a little, flashcard. Like, here's the song.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Put it
do
on
it.
the video board or something.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The bouncing ball, follow the bouncing ball.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, good try all around. Couldn't agree more with Braden, because it's 1-1. I'm willing to just overlook this and just move on. If it was 0-2, I think I'd be mad about it for like the rest of the month.
If at the end of the season they're leading the division and they're like, that's that Seoul trip, that Korea trip, that was what sparked it all. No one's going to hate that Korea trip at all.
Sure. I mean, in that amazing scenario where we're winning the division.
Sure. I leaked high there.
Yeah, I absolutely. I agree. We will all believe that the Korea trip was in fact a trampoline, instead of a difficulty for the club. So now tonight it's time to reel it back and play an exhibition game at Petco Park, and fans who had tickets to FanFest were given an opportunity to flip those to get tickets to these games. They've also sold tickets to these games. So they've both sold and given away tickets to these games. So that's cool. But tonight, there is a reason to watch. Dylan Cease is going to pitch for the Padres. And I think tomorrow afternoon, Michael King is going to pitch for the Padres.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Get these guys to start to feel comfortable at Petco Park, start to experience that mound a little bit more, just get reacclimated and reacquainted with what their new home is going to be. I think it's going to be really cool for them to start to sort of feel the crowd and feel the ballpark and everything like that in a more permanent way. I think that they're doing a few things that they had to cancel for FanFest yesterday. So the opening of the revamped Gallagher Square will be before today's game. I think that a special batting practice where they're sending those golden baseballs into the crowd for certain prizes and things like that. So should be some pretty good things for fans who are probably, I think I saw like $20 for a ticket today or things like that. So a fun day to get out there and just kind of get back in Petco Park a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess there's still actually some battle for Thursday's roster. We know that last week's roster doesn't have to be this week's roster. In fact, it can't be, because you're going to have to put your fifth starter and your fourth starter on the roster. Last time they had Dylan Cease and Matt Waldron on the taxi squad. They kept Pedro Avila on the taxi squad. They have to make a decision on Pedro Avila. They have to make a decision on Stephen Kolek, who's a Rule 5 kid. Do they want to give him back to the Mariners? Will be in town. They could just hand his bags over to the clubbies if they want to give him back to the Mariners at the end of Tuesday. But do they want to keep him? They used him winning on Thursday morning's game. So I really don't know. And then you get to Graham Pauley. Is he going to make he made that team for 2 days in Korea, but they needed position players, and there was a little more flexibility because there was only going to be 2 starts. So Do they want to keep a third catcher instead of Graham Pauley? And will he be sent down to the minors? There are decisions that the Padres have to make to get this thing from the weirdo 26 that they had for 2 games into their ready to go long distance 26.
Yeah, so this means something or could mean something for these next 2 days, or in terms of also, I think, just getting some of these young players also some innings out there, letting Jackson Merrill run around center field a little bit, letting guys just kind of get acclimated to what it's going to be like out there. But yeah, there's some competition still, and that bullpen and in other areas, Graham Pauley, like what is going to happen there? Who is, kind of taking over from Manny Machado until his arm is better and he can play third base on the regular? What is the plan? And we're going to hopefully have that unfold. I'm not sure that will unfold until late Wednesday or early Thursday when Mike Schultz talks to the media, but maybe we'll get some Easter eggs along the way.
I know it's never safe to say that anything's done when it comes to AJ Preller, because he has almost made a habit of making a deal or a signing the day before the season starts. He did it with the Taylor, or was it Tyler or Taylor Rogers? Which Rogers did we get?
Taylor Rogers, I think.
Taylor. It was
Taylor.
Yeah. He did it with the Taylor Rogers trade. He did it with the Craig Kimbrell trade. He made trades on the eve of the season that wouldn't even impact the opening day team, other than getting rid of the guys that he got rid of. So is that still possible for the Padres going forward? Or are we just going to say, this is the team, and Tyler Wade's going to be the starting third baseman, and when Manny comes back, Tyler Wade and Eggy Rosario are going to be the starting DH for this team, and we're going to just go with this as is?
Well, I know everybody loves a good conspiracy out there. Let's see if I can find it. I thought I saw on Twitter Tommy Pham liking a tweet of the Padres being short on money this year, but you know what? Now I'm not seeing it. So that may have been a fake, because I certainly don't see it anymore. So, oh, no, the Padres are in this position because they have overspent in recent years. That was Ken Rosenthal on his show Foul Territory, as to why the Padres have not picked up any of the remaining free agents at the time. JD Martinez, also Tommy Pham. So if you love a good conspiracy theory, which I know everybody does, perhaps Tommy Pham has come to the realization too that this might not be working for him. Although $3 to $4 million, that must be a thing where Pham's like, I am not taking that. But again, what team is offering him more than? What is this going to come down to the wire where his agent is like, just hold on a little longer, keep it holding. Maybe you're going to get 5 or 6 somewhere else. If not, I'm not sure what his other option is. Instead, possibly going and playing overseas or doing something like that. But
listen, major league players don't get paid for spring training, but they do get paid starting on opening day. So Tommy starts missing the paychecks that he counts on for his life starting on Thursday. Before that, this was always time that he wouldn't have gotten money from the team that he was at. He would have just been there, showing up and doing the work. But now it's money time. So I would expect Tommy to come across the line if there's a deal here in San Diego before Thursday, because that way he's going to get paid for the entire major league season. I would not expect him, if he did that, to play Thursday or maybe even for most of or some of the month of April. He'd have to go down to Padres extended spring training. He'd have to get rolling. He'd probably need a minor league start or two in order just to get it going. Because, he hasn't been anywhere doing anything. And I'll tie that to JD Martinez. JD Martinez signed over the weekend with the Mets. It's penciled as a 1-year, $12 million deal. In reality, it's a $2.5 million contract that JD Martinez gets this year. There's incentives, and then he gets paid in installments in the 2030s from the Mets. Just pulling out the Bobby Bonilla playbook to get him for one season. So, even JD Martinez, who Tommy Pham on his most arrogant day would admit is a more accomplished hitter in baseball than he is, got a weird incentivized, a deferred payment structure deal just to get through a year in New York with the Mets with Steve Cohen. So I can't imagine that Tommy is looking at the market right now and going, no, if I hold firm, someone's just going to pay the freight for me down the road.
It's going to be interesting. It's very, the guy's going to want to play baseball. He's going to want to play baseball somewhere. I'm guessing that the Padres have offered their deal and it's just up to Tommy to take it. And maybe another team has offered their deal and he's trying to decide or something like that. But it seemed like he wanted to make it work with the Padres. But the other thing here is maybe the Padres didn't offer a deal. Maybe the Padres are not interested in Tommy Pham. And this is all just kind of something we've come up with on the outside because it seems like a rational thing to do. But perhaps they're good with the team that they have.
It's the only reporting that's been around any other edition for the Padres has been the name Tommy Pham. Like I've brought up Brandon Belt 100 times, and there's never been a report that the Padres are discussing Brandon Belt. Of course, usually the names you hear associated with the Padres are the players that don't come here. It's usually stuff that agents float because they know that they can float anything and attach the name Padres to it, and it's got some credibility to it because AJ talks to everybody. But in general, as we've always seen, and including Dylan Cease, like nothing came out until it came out. Like the closest thing we had was a report that the White Sox and the Rangers were in on Cease and that there were some scouts that were seen at Padres camp. That was it before the trade went down.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that since that Tommy Pham news came out about potentially being linked to the Padres, it's just been total silence. I mean, there's just been nothing advancing it and nothing denying it. From what I've heard, the Padres are interested. It is something that they would be considering. And so it seems like on Tommy's end, he's got a decision to make, but I just don't know how many other suitors he has out there. So I guess I wouldn't be surprised if Tommy Pham is a Padre by Thursday.
Let's wait and see. God, we've been waiting so long.
I mean, it's going to be, I don't, it's hard to know on this one, what's happening. Cause you usually do see things floated. Now there was something on March 24th. Yeah, that's yesterday. Now, I tend to not know how much to put into this because I don't know how credible some of the foreign media outlets are. But it does say that the Tigers are the Hanshin Tigers are in advanced negotiations with Tommy Pham.
Okay.
Again,
they could get more money there, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's a money thing. I just that is completely not confirmed, but possible.
Could be the agent putting that out there so that the Padres bring a deal over the line to keep him in the United States. Let's take a break. It's 10:38. When we come back, we're doing What's Good, bringing you some of the stories you might have missed from the weekend that could put a smile on your face or maybe even a tear in the corner of your eye. We will do that when we return. Annie and Elsten on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour of Annie and Elsten is brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Celebrate and save at Ashley's anniversary sale with hot buys. Your choice of color starting at just $399. Ashley Sleep Mattresses. What the hell? Ashley Sleep Mattresses.
There we go.
Mattresses. Try again. Mattresses. Starting at $250. Plus, receive a free adjustable base with select mattress purchases. Only at Ashley. All
Hey,
right.
Craig, say
I'll do
mattress
that.
15 times.
Mattresses.
Mattresses. Say that 20 times.
Ashley's mattresses. That's where it's tricky because there's something in there. Ashley's mattresses is what I want to say. Ashley's mattresses.
It's a good challenge.
That's the biggest thing in PA. You have to be able to enunciate,
Yes.
hit all the syllables, overdo it, because that's how people understand you.
Do it.
Hey, do it.
Do it.
Say all the syllables. Say mattress.
Do it.
Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you a good mood. Guaranteed, it is time for What's Good.
Hey, Mondays can be tough, but here are some things that fired us up to start our day, and we want to send the vibes. Time for What's Good on Annie and Elsten.
All right. What'd you miss from the weekend? We've all got different perspectives on things. Let's get into it. Annie's, what's good? What's good, Annie?
This is a shout out to a former Chargers intern, San Diego Chargers intern, who is now the athletic director or interim athletic director at Cal State San Marcos. So the women's basketball team will make program history today. It plays in the NCAA Division II Elite 8 for the first time. Shout out Murad Shah. Shout out to Cal State San Marcos.
Yes.
Very cool for them. Making history.
That is awesome.
That's my
First time
What's Good.
ever in the Elite Eight. And who's the former Chargers intern?
Murad Shah, who
Murad
is now
Shah.
the interim athletic director, possibly athletic director by the end of the year for
Hey.
Cal State San Marcos.
If they make it another win,
That's
maybe
right.
he's got to unlock. Okay. That's awesome. That's what's good right there. What's good for you, Braden?
I think it's hard to go against the Aztecs making Sweet 16. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Really about it. It was good. I went to True North yesterday in North Park to watch the game. Some buddies that live around in the North Park neighborhood. We got to watch some college basketball, and it was cool to. I love watch. The watch parties are always kind of fun. We stayed for the first half, but it's fun to go to a local establishment.
Yeah.
Have a beer or something, maybe an app. Watch the game with fellow people that are also with the same rooting interests. So I had a good day yesterday, kind of doing that after the show.
That's
Love
sick.
it.
Good times, man.
Good vibes.
All right, I got what's good for y'all, and it started. Well, the story is his own story. How I stumbled into the story is I told you guys before. I get obsessed sometimes watching like good golfers swing. Now that's a thing, and as such, on Sunday, I tuned in to watch the Valspar Championship. This is not a major. This is not an enhanced event, and the folks on the YouTube chat right now are seeing the winner, Peter Malnati. If you see him, you might know why he caught my eye when I just tuned in to Peacock on a Sunday lunch hour, because this man wears a bucket hat out on the course. As someone who likes to used to wear a bucket hat all the time, totally relate. Everyman look. He plays with a yellow golf ball. He switched to a yellow golf ball because his son, who's now I think like 4 years old, when he was 2, said he thought the yellow ball looked cool. And so he switched and he started playing a yellow ball on the tournament circuit. So here's the deal, right? I tune in the second 9 just to see what's going on. And it's kind of a, who is this field? And you could have easily, if you're a golf snob, just given up. And just well, there's no Rory, there's no Scheffler, there's no. I'm just gonna tune out. I'll see you next week. And I could have done that, and then this guy pops on the screen. And first I thought, oh, it's Joel Damon from Full Swing, guy with a bucket hat. Like, oh no, it's this other guy. Oh, he's got a yellow golf ball. Oh, that's so cool, because so many times someone in your round will play with a yellow ball. You got a few in your bag, and you pull out a yellow ball. I'm like, oh, that's fun. That's different. I'm rooting for this guy, right? So then I'm watching as the round is continuing, and he was 2 off, and then he's 1 off, and then he's tied for the lead, and they start to tell his story. And he's 36 years old. He had last won, only time he'd ever won on the PGA Tour, 2015. Since then, he got married. Since then, he had 2 kids. He's on the players board for policy and whatnot. So he's a voice for kind of the smaller players in the sport in an official capacity, but he hasn't won in 9 years. He's had a lot of cuts. He hasn't been an illustrious player on the PGA Tour. And remember, if you don't make the cut, you don't make money. You know, you spent the whole week, you flew out, you pay for your own lodging, all of that stuff, and you make nothing for the week. So he's coming down the stretch, Annie and Braden and audience, and he is feeling it. He is feeling the pressure, just like anyone who's played golf could relate to imagining what the pressure would be and feeling that pressure. He hits a shot on the par 3, and he is sure that he's missed. He is sure that he has hit it short and hit into the bunker, and he like drops to his knees. He's like, oh, agony. But he didn't miss. The ball carried, and it made it to the green. And like he was like, whoa. Now, he gets up there to hit the putt, and he thinks he's shorted it, and he stares up at the sky, and the ball rolls in. Like, it takes one extra roll, and it rolls in. Even on 18, when he had a 2-shot lead, he hit it into the fairway bunker, and you think, oh, no. And he hit it out of that bunker into the green. He rolled it to an inch. We played the clip. He had to putt in from literally an inch away. But he had to wait for the other golfer to finish and hole out. And as he was there, he saw his kids outside the green. He saw his wife, and he was just overcome. He started crying. His caddy came over, put his arm around him. You know, he's just trying to hold it in. His little 4-year-old kid wearing an Austin FC jersey and a literal cape, purple cape, runs out and jumps into his arms after he wins. And listen to this interview and tell me that this isn't the stuff of sport. This is Peter Malnati with his son in his arms, talking about all the struggles that brought him to this moment in his career.
You wonder if you're ever going to do it again, you know, because it's hard. And, you know, in the 9 years since my last win, it's gotten a lot harder too. Like, if you look, like, the level of talent out here, guys coming out when they're, 20 years old and they're ready to play on this stage and they're so good. It's just, I mean, you just wonder, like, and so to have this moment, it just feels so amazing. I mean, obviously, my family believes in me. I've got the best caddy. He's been loyal to me for a long time through a lot of like down times too. I'm just so thankful. I'm just so thankful for my wife. She makes this all possible because life is hard. Like, it's obviously glamorous at times like this. And this is my dream job and it's absolutely amazing. But life is really, really hard too when you're trying to figure out how to live this lifestyle and have 2 kids and be everything that you want to be. It's really hard. And my wife has been an absolute rock through all of it. She's amazing. And I've got my mom here. My family's amazing. 2 little boys. Like, it's just, this just feels so good. It feels so good.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. I'm like, I didn't know who this guy was an hour and a half ago. And now I'm so into his story and this life and seeing that life and knowing what that kind of grind can be and how difficult it can be as a father, as someone trying to provide for a family, to see all that emotion go through Peter Malnati. Now, for winning this tournament, Annie, this is what he gets. He gets $1.5 million cash on the barrel. He gets 2 more years exemption. So he is a PGA Tour member through 2026 season. So he doesn't have to worry about it. He had to worry about his card every year the last 9 years. He didn't get a win. He had to grind and get enough earnings to get his card each year. Doesn't have to worry about that. He's never been able to play in the Masters. He is now invited to the Masters. He is invited to the PGA Championship. There are 4 remaining $20 million elevated events. He's invited to all of those events now. Wasn't in there before. Now you win there, you don't get $1.5 million. You maybe get $12 million or something like that. So like you always hear that phrase, life-changing money. This was a life-changing event for Peter Malnati, who might have hung it up and been a club tour pro, maybe working at a country club somewhere in a year or two, feeling devastated that, he was good enough. He won that one time in 2015, but that's it. The rest of the time he just kind of hung on, and he'd always be self-deprecating about his career. He did it. He won the Valspar. He held off Cameron Young, who looked like he was going to win. He pulled it out, and he had these kids right there. And I thought that was just, people think you have to have the bigger pool, the bigger event. Like, that was a human story. Sports creates great human story.
Yeah, love that emotion from him. Love that his family got to take part in it and seeing all that hard work pay off. I mean, that's really a beautiful thing.
And as M. McKee 23 says in the chat, I think it's a great button. You'll never get that emotion on Live Golf.
Mm-hmm.
You never will, where everyone's getting paid $250 million just to show up and play 3 days and goof around. So great point. The PGA Tour brings that energy of you got to fight. The guys at the top, they got it great. The guys at the bottom, they got to fight. All right, that's it. 1 hour in the books. Peter Seidler's Celebration of Life. We bring you some of the key sound when we come back. Hour number 2 of Annie and Elsten next on The Fan. Back with you for hour number 2. Welcome back. It's a Monday. It's your new midday hang. Annie and Elsten, let's dig in, talk some Padres baseball, and remember the owner that we wish was still here. Annie Heilbrunn, she's here. Braden Soprenit's here. I'm Craig Elsten, also with you. We are a multimedia operation streaming on the Odyssey app, broadcasting on terrestrial radio, 97.3 The Fan, in your car, in your garage, boombox, in somebody's handheld transistor radio, theoretically, in a world in which I dream. We are streaming. We are a podcast. We are talking to people from the past into the future, listening to us in the evening. I had folks telling me they were listening to Friday's show on Saturday, Sunday, last weekend, checking in on our Otani chat that we had. So wherever, whenever, we say thanks. And of course, we're a 4-hour show on YouTube. If you didn't know, or if you haven't tuned in and checked it out, please do. We're on youtube.com. Find us, search 97.3 The Fan, find the 97.3 The Fan channel, subscribe to it, hit notifications. You'll find out every time one of our shows goes live, or, just get used to the pattern so that you don't get 4 notices a day, because we're on all day. We're on with Ben and Woods at 6 to 10, us 10 to 2, Gwen and Chris 2 to 6, and the Scraby Chronicles from 6 to 7 p.m. Sunday's Braden Soprenit show from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., all on YouTube. So check it out. You can find past shows. You can go back, listen to parts of the show you missed. Number 1 podcast platform, believe it or not, is YouTube. A lot of people listen to shows on YouTube. Just have the channel open, or maybe you have YouTube Premium so that you can close the channel and still be listening on your phone. However you do it, wherever you do it, thank you for being a part of Annie and Elsten today and through our first couple of months here in San Diego. Talked some Aztecs basketball in the first hour. Aztecs in the Sweet 16, waiting to take on the number 1 team in the country. Boy, it feels like we were here a year ago. Just kind of feels like that same thing. Well, it is just a different number 1 team. It's UConn instead of Alabama, but UConn, the team that beat them. So now revenge narrative, never beaten UConn in the NCAA tournament. UConn's always gone on to win the national championship, beating the Aztecs along the way. I'm sure the Huskies are excited to see San Diego State because that's a team that's been a good luck charm for them in terms of winning national titles.
Yeah, should be a really fun week. I mean, you got everything leading up to that game on Thursday for the Aztecs. 4:39, by the way. I'd love to know who makes these start times. Not 4:40, 4:39.
The CBS.
Okay.
They've got the linear.
Well, that
they've
minute.
timed it out.
So that's going to be fun. And then obviously opening week for the Padres. That's going to be fun. Just a lot to look forward to this week.
Yeah. It used to be 4:37, but then they added Charles Barkley to the pregame show. So they're like, you know what?
4:39.
Probably going to need 2 minutes for Sir Charles. So we're going to go 39. So yeah, that's happening. Thursday is going to be amazing. We'll be live at Baja Rick's Thursday from 10 a.m. till 12. So hope to see a lot of you who are in the chat all the time with us. Anyone who's coming out to the ballpark, come down to Baja Rick's first, hang out with us, come by, say hello. Appreciate everyone who supports the program. 11 a.m. is where we like to talk some Padres. Tomorrow we can hash over an exhibition game against the Mariners. They play tonight. That's 6:40, by the way. You were just looking at the schedule, Braden. Are weeknight games 6:40?
Yes, those are the times for the Padres this year at home.
I like that. I like that a lot. I can't tell you how much I like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I still think back to the days that it was 7:10 or 7:40. And I'm like, how did we do that?
7:40s were ridiculous.
That was so bad.
Dodgers used to start Friday games at 8 o'clock.
Mm.
They used to do that. They used to start at 8:05, just knowing that the traffic's so bad and everything else. But it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
11:30 at night, leaving a ball game, like it's a bit much if it didn't go 15 innings.
I think a lot of people prefer the 6:40. I personally would be like 6:15.
6:10's great.
6:10.
Love 6:10.
That was the COVID time. Was 6:10? I loved it
6:10
too.
was
Love the
amazing.
6:10.
6:40 was a fine compromise by Grupner and the Padres.
Yeah, it's
I'm
definitely better than the 7 hour.
Yeah, I'm
And I
way
love
good with it.
I love the Saturday 5:40 starts.
Those are nice.
Yes.
Those are great.
Yes. I celebrate this. Very good. Okay, cool. So 6:40 tonight. It is Dylan Cease on the hill. I don't know who Seattle's pitching. If it's one of their regular starters, they've only got good starters. So
Seattle is essentially leaving. Did they leave Peoria, fly here, and then are flying to see. I mean,
Wherever they're going.
Okay.
That's what
An interesting twist for Seattle.
there's a lot of teams that do that. There's
Okay.
actually a lot more of these exhibition games in big stadiums than you think. I remember going to the Rangers played host to the Mets when I was in college for 2 exhibition games at the ballpark at Arlington because I think the Mets were playing somewhere nearby to start off. And they're like, why play an extra game in Florida? Or if you're the Rangers, why play 2 extra games in Surprise when we could play in our home ballpark? And they bring this gigantic team with them too.
Yeah. The Freeway Series up in LA has been happening since I was a little kid. That used to be exciting.
It's fun.
Before interleague play as a kid, it was exciting. It was like, this is the one time the Dodgers play the Angels. And like, I really want to go out there and see both my teams going against each other. Like that was a ton of fun when I was a kid. Nowadays, I mean, they like literally might play every season.
So that they've changed around the scheduling. Yeah.
Bryce Miller's pitching tonight.
Oh,
he's good.
not the Union Tribune
Not
columnist, Bryce
Union
Miller.
Tribune. Hopefully they talk to each other before the game. But
He should throw out the first pitch.
He
Bryce,
should.
the columnist.
He
I
should.
agree. 100%.
Just confuse everyone.
I have Bryce Miller on one of my fantasy teams. There, now you know. All right, now I'm interested.
Now
Now you got me.
Now he's got him.
Now you got me licked.
Seattle Mariners after this will be. My computer loads.
Searching.
No, thanks, Odyssey. Appreciate it. They will be hosting Boston this weekend.
Okay.
No, so they just go back
So
to
they
Seattle.
come across and then up.
Mm-hmm.
No big deal.
No,
Yeah,
you get a few
simple.
days in San Diego, a nice hotel, a big league ballpark, nice clubhouse.
Plus,
Not bad.
as you know, Annie, I'm sure all the players in Seattle are probably so ready to get out of Peoria,
Yes.
and it's a change of scenery.
It is.
Right.
So why not have a better change of scenery than playing your spring training complex foe at their home ballpark at Petco Park?
I agree.
Sounds good to me.
Of course, yesterday's Fan Fest was canceled, presumably rained out. I was outside in the afternoon at that time, and pretty nice.
Yeah.
Just kinda-
It was weird weather yesterday because there were times like here where it was not raining and it was torrential downpour at my house in Scripps Ranch.
It was hailing in Alpine at one point.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
I also wonder if they would have had to set things up and then had to like watch it all be rained on for a while. And
Yeah.
maybe it was just too much to try
Plus
to
the
figure
wind.
out.
The wind was a
Logistics,
factor.
Yeah.
It was really windy yesterday as well.
discretion, the better part of valor. They couldn't know. And when it did dump, it dumped really hard. You're right. So,
I also wonder if they were all just like, you know what, we're good. We
yep,
just
that's
got
what I
back
was
from
thinking too.
Korea. We're okay.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Andy. It was kind of like, I feel like it's one of those things. I'm sure you've done this in your life where like you agree to something on the front end and then you get to the back end and you're like, I do not want to do that. And I kind of feel like on the plane back from Seoul, it was like, so guys, listen up. Saturday, celebration of life. Then Sunday, it's going to be Fan Fest. We're going to need you to be there at 10. We're going to need you to dinner. Like, and so Manny just held up his hand, was like, bleep that.
I think that everybody involved. I'm sure the weather. Obviously, if it would have been sunny, they wouldn't have canceled it. But yeah, seeing the weather, I think, was a nice reprieve to let everyone know, hey, stay at home, get a little extra rest. No need to run around and get this done. And you know what? They have 2 exhibition games now to sort of move some things in and kind of, do a little of the activities that they would have done during Fan Fest during these exhibition games. So
They just lose the softball game.
they lose the softball game. I was actually a little surprised at that one.
That's kind of a bummer.
Maybe they'll bring it back
I
during
know.
the year or something.
All the softball players were excited to
They
see
could've
big time
totally-
softball.
I could have done the
At Petco
softball game
Park.
before the game today.
Did you guys ever see when they brought out like the softball big hitters for a pregame exhibition at Petco?
I think JB's about part of that. There's a guy, his name's John Bailey. He lives in town. He plays up in Escondido. He's got named after him. He hits the ball so freaking far.
Yeah.
But he's part of that stadium tour.
Yeah, just pounding it off
Insane.
the scoreboard, like just hitting the farthest
Effortlessly.
bombs you ever saw. Completely nuts.
JB, shout out to JB, John Bailey. Anybody driving around that knows John. Everybody in the softball community knows John Bailey. But I watched him at the Poway Sportsplex hit over the warehouse behind the Sportsplex. It's insane how hard he hits the ball and how far they can send it. Crazy.
Fun memories. And Rich makes a great point. Padres did really well to move up the celebration of life because they perfectly hit their window.
Mhm.
So they knew what was going on right there.
See, Charisma knows. She played with John Bailey. That's
And a
awesome.
lot of player turnout for the celebration of life. It
Indeed.
was very nice. I think Paul Benham Woods put out a video, and most of it looked like all the players were there.
So we've got some of the sound from it. If you happen to miss it over the course of the weekend, and everyone would understand if you did, everyone's busy. we've got some of the sound from the celebration of life. What do you got first, Braden?
We got the sound. We have to go sound only because we had to make some adjustments. AJ Preller used some fun language that we cannot air. So this will be audio only. Sorry, YouTubers, with the videos. You want to see the videos, they're on our Twitter page. But here is what AJ Preller had to say. He had a nice long speech telling a story about Peter Seidler.
One of the last times that I sat down with Peter was this past summer. You know, it was a difficult season. It was a year that I think me and Peter both thought would be the culmination of a lot of years of hard work. We were talking about our current team last year and what we needed to do to turn things around. Peter asked a lot of questions like he always did. He was very optimistic. And at the end, he said, you know, I think this is going to turn around, and had his thoughts on why. And then he broke out this clear plastic bag, looked like it had a controlled substance in it. And he said, let's go light this on the field and smoke this up. So, wow, that's pretty aggressive. I knew Peter might be a free spirit, but wasn't really sure what was going on. So I called Josh Stein, our assistant GM, who graduated from Cal Berkeley. I figured he might have some experience in this. And we got together down the right field line. Of course, me and Peter couldn't figure out how to light this sage up. So we had to call TJ Lasita, our traveling secretary, who, for those who know TJ, he gets everything done. And he just had a blowtorch in his back pocket or something and showed up and lit this sage on fire. And we carried this incense sage packet like the Olympic torch from right field right to the pitcher's mound. And it was there that we spoke good things to our pitchers, spoke about some positive energy into the universe. We then went to home plate, where Shield joined us, took our shoes off, and said good things for our hitters and our bats to get our bats going. Lucky for all of us, the Chicago Cubs were coming in at that time from the Omni Hotel, so them and the media got to see us on the field doing this. And within the next couple hours, I'd asked some questions about, was that the owner of the Padres and the GM openly praying for some offense? And to which I told the Chicago media, "You're goddamn right." We're trying to do everything we can to win here. And
what a great telling of that story by AJ Preller. I'm sure many of you were like me, and at the point where he finally said the word sage, you went, "Oh,
Totally.
That's what you're talking about." Because until then, I was pretty sure it was a pre-roll of some sort. It's like, let's just go down with this controlled substance and light it up. He said, let's just light this up, smoke it up. Like, okay, all right. No, that was the saging that we had told you happened last June. He not only put it out there, but even had confirmed it apparently to some Chicago media along the way. So great story, great mustache for AJ Preller too.
Yeah, what a great story for him to tell, and the way he told it really was great. And bringing in Josh Stein and the Berkeley reference, and just really, really nice. And I was so glad to hear that. It was just a really heartfelt. I thought that one stood out from all of them at that ceremony.
What else do we have?
Got a lot of other stuff. I played the Eric Katsena stuff yesterday on the show. I thought he had some really good things to say. I don't know if this is the exact same clip or not, but this is what Eric Katsena had to say. I think it really got a good insight of Eric Katsena, the man, and not, just what fans and I think media members kind of treated him, just like coming in as the, bookkeeper type guy. You actually got to learn a little bit about Eric Katsena and obviously the very heartfelt message of him, talking about losing a friend.
There's more to say than time permits. And anyway, when measured against the eloquence of Peter's life, our words are very inadequate. And so I'll conclude these remarks with his words, spoken just last year. 1 year soon, the baseball gods will smile on the San Diego Padres, and we will have a parade. Which I reply, on behalf of all of us gathered here today, We rejoice, dear Peter, that you are now one of those baseball gods safely tucked into heaven.
It's amazing. Boy, he was getting choked up.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I thought it was pretty special
Mhm.
on that. I don't know why our computer's kind of malfunctioning, but we have been cleared on the other things that we had to do on the other stuff. So in terms of like AJ Preller's thing, so I actually might be able to pull up the video aspect of these because I did think Joe Musgrove and Manny Machado had some pretty good stuff to say as well. So give me 1 second on that.
No worries. Yeah. AJ, very emotional. Eric Katsenda, very much more emotional right there. Cool to hear AJ speaking in that human way too. Like it was very nice. A moment that's less guarded. Always nice to hear someone kind of connecting with you on that emotional human level. We've got the two leaders of the club still to come, Joe Musgrove, Manny Machado, both up on the dais speaking on Saturday midday.
We're going to start with Joe.
Let's do it.
Here's Joe Musgrove talking about Peter Seidler on Saturday.
Peter and his team have given the San Diego Padres fans something they can be proud of. He had a vision of what he wanted and put his money where his mouth is and stepped to the plate. He built a team of people around him that could go get the right pieces to give this city a real shot at winning a World Series and gave them what they needed to accomplish that. As players, and I know I can speak on behalf of all my teammates when I say this, we realize the opportunity that we have here in San Diego. For as long as any of us can remember, we've wanted the opportunity to play baseball in the big leagues, to put on a major league uniform and say that you were good enough to play with the big dogs. As you get older and your skills develop and your confidence grows, your ambition grows as well. You go from wanting to just say that you made it to wanting to win championships. And as any former player knows, your time in this game is limited. Fewer than 10% of us will get a chance to play 10 years in the big leagues. And you spend a lifetime of work working towards something that, if you're lucky, will give you 10 years to achieve. And as good of a player as you may be, those years might very well be spent on a team that never even sniffs a shot at the playoffs. My point is, every player in that locker room realizes how great of an opportunity we have here in San Diego. That during our short careers, we get to be part of a team that has the firepower that we do, the front office and leadership team that we do, and the ability to play baseball in the best city in the country in front of the best fans in the game. We have an opportunity to accomplish a personal lifelong goal and give the city of San Diego its first world title. All of that is possible because Peter had a vision to change the landscape of baseball in San Diego, and he acted on it.
Wow. Ready to go. Let's go.
Really beautifully said by Joe.
That's awesome. That's a leader.
Peter and his team have given the San Diego.
And he said it to some extent last year too. You know, they gave us everything we needed and we didn't come through. And I just have to hope, Annie, you have to hope that all of this sentiment has legs, that it's sticky, that it sticks from the spring into the summer, into those tough days, into a 5-game losing streak, you know, into those difficult moments where you might give up a series sweep and instead you dig down and you get that last game. Like those are the times when you need to remember all of that and not have it lost to you. So very hopeful that that'll be the case. And we wrap with Manny, Braden?
Correct. Here's Manny Machado.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today to honor Peter, one of the greatest humans that I've had the privilege of knowing. Peter left a huge mark, not just in the world of baseball, but in our community. His legacy will live through the countless lives he's touched and the impact he made in everyone in this building. The first time I met Peter was back in 2019 when the day after, the news broke that I signed with the San Diego Padres. We had a long luncheon with ownership, front office executives, and all I remember was Peter in the corner, tossing a baseball up and down, rubbing it, like he was rubbing dirt on it. That was Peter. It was then that I learned Peter's passion, respect, and love that he had for this game. He was a mentor and a friend, and he changed baseball in the city of San Diego forever. Shio, I'm lucky to have witnessed the love Peter had for you and how proud he was of you and your family. He was an inspiration to me, and I thank you for letting me be a part of that. Lady, Shanti, Harry, you guys will always have a brother in me. Whatever you need, I'm just a phone call away. We love you. Peter, I miss you every day. I will always remember all our conversations, our long night talks, having a drink, beyond the lines. It was more than just baseball for Peter.
Manny Machado, Joe Musgrove, AJ Preller, Eric Kutsenda, some great sound from Saturday's celebration of life. You can find more on our Twitter page, 97.3 The Fan SD. Check
Really
it out.
thoughtful and wonderful by Manny. Very nicely done.
Absolutely. Let's take a time out. It's 11:22. We've got plenty to get through as we roll on here on Annie and Elsten, including we've got actually a little clarity now out of Los Angeles, which leads to maybe a little less clarity for Shohei Ohtani. We'll bring you that when we come back. 12 o'clock Sports Fix at the top of the hour right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Baseball season's finally here. Well, almost. On Thursday it is, and you already know we're the official home of the Padres, so be sure to catch us all season long, wherever the season takes you with the Odyssey app. Listen to us react to the biggest moments throughout the season. Plus, be sure to listen to live local play-by-play for every Padres game. Geolocation required. Download the Odyssey app today. Search 97.3 The Fan to get started. Local blackout supply. That's the same thing as saying geolocation required, meaning you got to be here to hear
Got to be
Jesse
in
and
San
Tony.
Diego. That's a very much a gray area with some of the tracking on our phones. And the antennas you pick up. Sometimes you pick up one in Mexico when you're down in the South Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Can't watch the game. Or
There
can't
it
listen to the
is.
game when you're on that. Or like you pick up one just outside the county. You might be in North County. Some reason the antenna is not in North County. All of a sudden you're not. And then you're calling me and saying, why doesn't my app work? Well,
It works just a little too well.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So it was announced yesterday, Annie. This is the interlude in the Shohei Ohtani saga. We're not going to have a long Ohtani segment today because nothing changed since we spoke on Friday. Literally, no one said a word.
Major League Baseball is going to investigate. See that Friday news dump?
Yes, Friday,
3 o'clock
3
in the
p.m.
afternoon.
Yes, 6 p.m. Eastern time.
I got the notification on my phone. I was like, oh, now they're going to investigate.
hour after closing. Oh, by the way, we're going to do an investigation. Shh.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. So everything's been radio silence from LA, from the Dodgers. And then Sunday, when they began the Freeway Series, somebody approached Ohtani in the clubhouse. And before he was shooed away, Ohtani simply said tomorrow. And then the club didn't know because everyone was like, what? Dave Roberts said, well, that sounds like a good plan. And then it was announced that Ohtani would speak today. Now it has been refined. Ohtani will make a statement today at 2:45 p.m. He will not take questions. It will be, he'll read in Japanese. His interpreter, Will Ireton, will interpret. He's been a Dodgers employee for a while, used to be Kenta Maeda's interpreter, and he took over for Ippei, who, of course, is gone and is the center of the saga. So 2:45, no questions, a statement by Ohtani, and we can talk about it tomorrow.
Is that the scene from Naked Gun where he's just like, nothing to see here? Buildings on fire.
Everything's blowing up.
Exploding everywhere.
Exactly.
That is a live look at the Shohei Ohtani saga. Everything's great.
I get it.
Everything's great.
I mean, I really do get it because it's one thing to take questions and it's another to take questions through the language barrier with reporters that are going to try and dig for an angle, and you're worried about something being lost in translation. Telephone game, it's going through an interlocutor each time. Is the exact perfect message getting through?
Don't self-incriminate. I totally get it.
Yeah,
Seriously,
that's the other thing.
That's a smart move on their part.
That's the other thing.
Don't talk.
Right.
We don't need to talk. Nobody say anything.
The less you say, the less you can say that can be held against you. So that's what's going to happen. I have a strong feeling we will leave this unrequited after this statement at 2:45.
Yeah, and it definitely won't be over. And I'm sure that they'll say he's not going to answer any questions surrounding the case in any of his pressers that he does going forward, at least for a while. But the thing about Shohei, they were really good about guarding him from the media from the jump. I mean, with the Angels, he's going to have to talk at some points, but he'll have an interpreter or a PR person there that's like, nope, only questions about baseball, And, he'll just won't answer the ones that come in, but they won't stop for sure. I mean, this will be a distraction. Now, the Dodgers are used to dealing with distractions, but this will be a distraction for a while.
Just going to read a statement. Why waste our time?
Yeah,
I mean,
just publish
seriously,
it.
why waste? Just put it out there on social media. Have the Dodgers Twitter account. Put it out there on social media.
Because
I can read it.
I mean, at least you've got. I mean, I know Annie would say from a TV standpoint, at least you've got the clip.
You got a clip you can play.
The guy saying something
Instead of having your local anchor read the clip live on air.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'd be really curious about is what kind of statement is this? Because again, where it's been left is that his camp is saying that Ippei stole the money. Stole. So is Shohei going to say, I never authorized any payments? That would be news. If he says, I didn't authorize anything. I didn't know anything. And this guy took advantage, and then we can go to the follow-ups. How? Why? how could that possibly happen? All of these, which he won't take follow-ups. But again, I get it. I do get it. Why,
Should we play some bets on what he's going to say? Oh, wait, is that too soon?
Maybe.
Is that crossing the line?
Easy.
What are the odds on DraftKings of what the statement's going to be?
Or how long it will be.
How long it will be? Wait a minute. Maybe we have the problem.
I wonder if ESPN Bet is doing a segment on that right now.
What do you think Ipe will bet on? The jokes write themselves.
I mean, what I've been thinking about was the Saturday Night Live sketch of Ipe doing the translation. And Joey coming out going like, this man stole $5 million from me. And Ipe going, I'm very happy to play baseball for the LA Dodgers. And he's like, no, that's not what I said. I saw this over the weekend on social media, Annie, and it brought me right back to these conversations because it is a difficult space. At one point on Friday, you said, what is the scandal here? What is the actual scandal here? I feel like it is much more difficult to define the nature of something being right or wrong if you're completely in bed with the process itself. And by that, I mean gambling. And ESPN is now completely in bed with gambling. They've taken over $1.5 billion. I forget which major bettor or company it is that they're in with, whether it's MGM or someone else, but they now have ESPN Bet. They have actual shows.
Right.
ESPN Bet. And over the weekend, I caught this clip on social media from ESPN Bet. This is one of their analysts recommending a play in yesterday's March Madness. And Reese Davis, host of College Football Game Day for years. How can a network cover gambling in any way when they have anchors making statements like this? Take a listen.
Many different ways you could play a game. You can look at the spread, you can look at player props, the total, but we're going to get, again, a little spicy here. This is going to be a sweat. I wish I could give you a ton of research of why this is going to hit under, but when we look at UConn, they like to slow down the tempo. The same thing goes for Northwestern. If they want to stay in this game, they're going to have to slow down UConn's offense. And we like to go off what we just saw. So for Northwestern, for example, they just put up 77 points on Florida Atlantic, but you have to remember, 19 of those points, they came in overtime. So I expect this to be a slow game all around, good defenses on both sides of the ball. And so if you look at a team total, although it seems low at 60.5, I'm going to go under there.
You know what? Some would call this wagering, gambling. I think the way you sold this, I think what it is risk-free investment. That's the way to look at it.
Aaron, positive way.
Aaron Dolan from ESPN Bet with the best.
How many different ways you could play a game?
Risk-free investment. You might call it wagering, gambling. I would call it risk-free investment. That's what every bookie has said to every mark since the beginning of time.
Yeah, very ridiculous and irresponsible to say that on air. And this is now, that's a sports show. I mean, of course, they have their betting shows and everything like that. And betting is now part of really almost all of their shows. I mean, they're showing lines or talking about spreads or doing, in pretty much almost every show. But it's pretty irresponsible and it's pretty hypocritical, to be honest. I mean, he did break a look. There's no doubt about it. If all this comes out and Shohei was making bets to a bookie, that's breaking a law. And if Ipe was making bets to a bookie, that's breaking a law. But if you look at it from like a general perspective, it's all pretty hypocritical.
Reese Davis issued an apology. He said on Twitter, and Braden's put it up for the YouTube chat to see, he said, during a segment this morning on College Game Day, due to ESPN Bet picks hitting yesterday, I joked the advice was more like risk-free investing. As we all know, such a thing does not exist. Obviously, there are risks. Although I'm not a gambler, I strongly encourage those who do partake to so with prudence, care, caution, fiscal, and personal, blah, 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 blah. So he obviously got told once he got off the set that he screwed up. And I'm sure maybe he thought it himself too. But I just see it. I see it as all of one piece, right? You get sports networks that want to call themselves journalistic institutions or have journalistic standards. Now you're saving your company, not just taking money, you're saving your company, which has lost millions because of cord cutting, because of the diminution of cable, because of their entire business model collapsing. They're thinking about direct-to-consumer ESPN now, over the top. They're thinking about the Hulu mix-up thing for live sports in a year or two. They're floundering to find money. And here came $1.5 billion investment into ESPN. And now the same folks who are supposed to be reporting and commenting on this stuff are turning around and blithely discussing gambling props as risk-free investments on the air.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about how far it's come where, gambling would not even be mentioned on air. And now it's sponsoring segments or sponsoring shows or presented by. And this is just the tip, in my opinion. I mean, this is where we're headed. And as long as the money's coming in, people are just going to look the other way.
And as a result of that, when you hear a story like this, oh, well, what's the matter with it? Like, well, what's going on? We're in a muddy zone that almost nobody understands the rules to. It's being created and changed in real time. And the proliferation of legal betting within a system where, if it gets inside the walls of professional, ruins what's inside. It taints potentially permanently what's going on, or at least for a goodly long time. If we have an actual legitimate Black Sox type thing that crops up anywhere, God forbid.
Yeah, I mean, there's a conflict of interest here that's happening, but as long as the money is coming in, like I said, it's, you kind of look the other way. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously this was through a bookie, but Ipe did talk about how he placed them through DraftKings before. He placed them through some of the legal betting routes and things like that. So this isn't going to be the only story that comes out. The more that this takes off, and it has taken off, and we just haven't heard about him yet. But athletes and gambling, or teams and gambling, or ties to gambling, I think it's really just going to be just the beginning.
Yeah, and Satan's Blowfish in the chat. Great point to wrap the segment. So many high school kids gamble, and I bet most of them get their info off shows like ESPN Bet or various YouTube shows. It's so easy to moralize from a position of like, you're an adult. You're responsible for what you do, trying to be libertarian about it. Like, everyone's got their own rights and
legalize everything, and the people get to choose for themselves.
Right. But what you're missing on that is the knockdown effects below the level of the responsible adult who would have gambled responsibly in Las Vegas and now has an opportunity to, on his phone, gamble responsibly and is going to set limits, is going to, right. What about the 14-year-old kid who still can get all the access to all of the, hey, it's risk-free investing? And by the way, you have to say it on the kicker. Northwestern did go under. It was 60.5. They finished with 58 points. So risk-free. I mean, I guess you would have gone 1 for 1 on that bet. Of course, if they had made one more 3-pointer.
Yeah.
If they had made one more 3-pointer in the game,
your betting stock market wouldn't be trending in the right direction, as you would think.
So risk-free, not quite.
I mean, it's like when they tell kids and teenagers and everything, hey, just you can vape. It's not like smoking, and we're going to sell the vape things and cotton candy and bubble gum and all these flavors, and don't worry, it's not as bad as smoking. And they're just, obviously, that's, go read the research on it and see what vaping really is, and it's just the same sort of thing that is happening here, where you're just dumbing it down, kind of letting the gateway into it just be very, very easy. And so, yeah, it's going to fall upon other ways for people to kind of learn how to be responsible about certain things and what they can and can't do, or what they do or don't want to touch. But the lines are so blurry now that it's hard to watch something. Even ESPN, I mean, a lot of the games now, like you're paying for broadcast rights or things like that, where you're not going to be allowed to talk about certain things, or you're going to be told to stay away from certain things. Like, you have to be a very conscientious consumer these days to see kind of what is kind of the wool is sort of being pulled over your eyes on some things.
Let's take a time out. It is 11:43. We've got plenty to get to, and we got the 12 o'clock sports fix coming up at the top of the hour. Keep it right here. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. This hour of Annie and Elsten brought to you by Ashley Furniture. Celebrate and save at Ashley's anniversary sale. Hot buys, your choice of colors starting at just $399. Ashley Sleep mattresses starting at $250 plus. Receive a free adjustable base with select mattress purchases only at Ashley. All right. Craig and Annie and Braden back with you. We got the 12 o'clock sports fix coming up. This is looking jumbo stuffed. I'm just going through got a lot of stuff to get to.
Got a lot of stuff going on
Monday
over the
sports
weekend.
fix, yeah.
Monday sports fix big. Friday sports fix big. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Well, a little more compact. There will be no sports fix on Thursday because it's going to be Sam Levitt's turn.
Mm-hmm.
He will have the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show from the loft up in the Western Metal Building Thursday at 12. We will be live at Baja Rick's 10 to 12 before the game. So if you're, loose on your pregame thoughts, but you have pregame thoughts for Thursday, consider Baja Rick's. Consider coming by. We'll have Topo Chico specials. They'll have Blue Moon specials as well. Coors Light, if not a bad idea if you're drinking before noon. To stick to the light lagers.
Light lagers are
Pace
great.
yourself.
Exactly.
There's a time and a place for Coors Light, and that's the time and a place.
It really is.
That golf
really
course,
is. Yeah, golf course is a great call.
Can't be drinking the heavy double IPAs, all the sugar and stuff. You're gonna have a massive headache by 4:00.
Right.
And then if the Padres lose, you're gonna have even bigger, massive headache. And then you got
Don't
the
put that in the
then you got the
universe.
Aztecs and UConn coming right
Yeah,
after. So you
long
got to pace
day.
yourself.
Yeah, no negative thoughts like that. It's going to be a beautiful day in the sunshine Thursday as the Padres get back at it. Now, they haven't said if it's Musgrove or Darvish, right?
I don't think they have.
All they said was Cease today and King tomorrow, which would line them up to be 3 and 4 in the rotation, but haven't decided who's going to go game 1 yet.
Why change? Why change?
Yeah, just go with you.
Yeah. I think Darvish should start Thursday and Joe can start Friday. Like, let's just stay in order.
I can see it go either way.
I could too. I could see the point of, because Joe hasn't opened up the ballpark yet, right?
Sure.
I could see them doing that.
Of course, he hasn't pitched well at any point yet in 2024. So maybe
What
go with a guy
better
with,
way
that would
than
pitch
Thursday?
well.
What better day than Thursday to start pitching better?
Just saying, but maybe go with that. Maybe go with the guy who's pitched better. You Darvish.
You had 7 games to start before your first off day.
Get on a roll. 7 games. So we'll go all the way through.
Right. So they're gonna go Cease today and then King, which means you could definitely go. Then you go like your 5 would be the off day. Then you go 1 with Darvish, 2 with Musgrove. You'd have Cease again Saturday, and then you'd have King on Sunday. Your 5 will start against the Cardinals, and then you go 1-2 Cardinal, and then you have an off day.
Man, I'm getting excited. First homestand. Going to get rolling. Very, very busy weekend this weekend in San Diego sports. Wave also play Friday night. Soccer's final regular season home game is on Saturday night. So it's going to be a busy, consequential weekend for San Diego sports. But just to get the gas lamp rocking again, get Petco Park flowing again, good feelings coming off a 15-run performance for the offense. And I thought as well, some more not reporting really. It was just a story through quotes this morning in the UT, but talking about how their hitting coach through an interview, the team is truly focused on situational hitting this year. Does kind of beg the question, where was it last year? But I'm glad it's here now because it was missing last year for sure.
Yeah, I saw that every at bat, treating it kind of like a situation that its own situation. It was there last year. It's been there the year before too, the year before that. But it's about execution. It's about guys executing. I think that they're constantly inundated with the same kind of mantras, and there's hitting coaches that come along that can give certain guys different edges or see something that maybe someone else hasn't been able to see. But it's he'll be providing them information and getting some confidence up and helping them maybe, I think, go more hitting to the strengths of Petco Park, which means maybe more gap to gap, just foul pole to foul pole there. What does the situation call for? Move the runners along.
It's just wild. This is almost the same team. There's only a couple people missing. Neither one of them succeeded that great in situational hitting last year. Juan Soto and Trent Grisham, although Soto to his credit, did better than a lot of the guys who are still here, including Xander in those spots. But of course, every at bat's a situation, right? Like, of course, when nobody's on, you should focus on getting on base. And there's a runner at third, you should not be as worried about homering as you are about bringing the runner in. These things seem obvious along the way, but it's just amazing that a club really kind of tried to bully ball through a whole year and go like, we don't need any of this stuff. All we need to do is show up with the best versions of ourselves, and that will carry the day, and that will get us to the end and get us to the World Series. And like, I'm sorry, no. But as we heard at the start of this hour, it really does seem like that's sunk in.
I think that they tried to do it last year. I think that they pressed a bit. I think that they got a little out of themselves when things were kind of not going their way. I think that some of the things that they had maybe concentrated on early on in the season, you start to want to be the hero. You start to want to help the club pull out of things, or you start to want to help yourself pull out of things. And there were so many different guys going through the same things at the same time. I think it just kind of multiplied on itself. But yeah, these guys know. I mean, they maybe being reminded about going back to basics on some certain things. I'm sure that helps. I'm sure that that's a good calming thing for some of these guys. But they didn't forget how to hit yesterday. They just had a hard time. Or last year, I think that they just kind of all hit that wall at the same time and all kind of started pressing it as well.
All right. Well, we got a huge hour number 3 of Annie and Elsten lined up for you. It's going to start off with the 12 o'clock Sports Fix complete weekend recap edition. That's going to be a full segment unto itself. Kim Mulkey is a very talented head coach, but she used a very, very old playbook yesterday, Attack the Press. We are going to get into that, and then we'll wrap up the hour with Match Game. So we got a really fun 12 o'clock hour set up for you. Stay right here. Don't go anywhere. Danny and Elsten, your new midday hang on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Back with you for the lunchtime hour. Welcome back, everybody. Hour number 3 of Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang on. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan, with Annie Heilbrunn and Braden Soprenet. Craig Elsten here with you. It is our pleasure to be with you. It was a busy weekend, and even if you've been paying attention to the world of sports, you might have missed at least half of the stuff that happened. All kinds of things happened. So let's bring it to you right now. All the sports news that's fit to speak for you on a Monday. We'll get things started with March Madness, NCAA tournament recap with our very own Braden Soprenet.
First weekend in the books. And we got a local product. San Diego State punched their ticket to the Sweet 16 last night. They beat Yale 85-57. Ran Yale out of the building. Yale's been held. First time they've been held under 60 points in 2 years.
Nice.
The Yale Bulldogs. It's not like they are unable to score points. Aztecs defense was exceptional. Jaden Ledee, exceptional all weekend. San Diego State back in the Sweet 16 for the second year in a row. Will have to take on the #1 seed in the entire tournament for the second year in a row, this time in the UConn Huskies. Other games yesterday, Purdue dismantled Utah State. Got a lot of help in the first half. We'll leave it at that. 106-67. UConn over Northwestern, 75-58. Houston beats Texas A&M, 195 in overtime. That was probably the game of the day yesterday. Marquette beats Colorado, 81-77. Clemson over Baylor, 72-64. Duke beats the Dukes of James Madison, 93-55. And Alabama beat Grand Canyon late yesterday. That sets up for Thursday, first round of the Sweet 16. There'll be 4 games on Thursday and 4 on Friday. West Region, East Region will play on Thursday night. Clemson and Arizona tips off at 4:00 p.m. Pacific time. Aztecs and UConn at 4:39. Alabama, North Carolina, 6:39. And Illinois and Iowa State at 7:09. And as I was telling Andy beforehand, they're playing in Boston, and that game will start at 10:09 p.m. Eastern time at the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. It'll be a late night on the East Coast. Hopefully the Aztecs by that time are in bed, sleeping, getting ready for an Elite 8 matchup after they knock off the UConn Huskies. They weren't the only team in action this weekend. UC San Diego played in the CBI and lost to Chicago State in the first round of the CBI. So that's some tough news.
77-75, I think, like really
Correct.
close.
Number 2 seed got upset. The Tritons did, but a great season nonetheless. Bryce Pope has now entered the transfer portal. He has 1 year left of eligibility. Bryce Pope will be playing somewhere else aside from UCSD coming up next year. So whether or not he stays in town, plays for the Aztecs or USD, or goes somewhere else will remain to be seen. But that's your local college basketball news.
That's big news.
That is pretty big news.
Sorry, Coach Olin.
Bad news for USD. They lost Wayne McKinney and Deuce Turner. Both of them have entered the transfer portal as well during this week. So that's a recap on college basketball. Have some other college basketball news and local college and high school news in just a little bit.
They were trying to hang on to Bryce Pope in that transfer portal, but couldn't use that second hand. It was the Dr. Pepper Holden hand.
That's right.
Guards are replaceable.
Great commercial, Annie. It's a great commercial. She looked so confused on that.
You never saw that Dr. Pepper commercial?
I don't
like
know
a giant,
that I have.
this giant.
It's the
thing.
portal.
It's the transfer portal, and they took away our defense.
Give me your hand.
The quarterback is like hanging on to this guy, and he goes, "Give me your other hand." He goes, "That's my Dr. Pepper hand."
hand.
The guy goes, "I understand." And then he flies
drops
off.
him.
He's off. He's out of there.
He's in a different. He's playing a different school.
Then Brian Bosworth was like, "Yeah, you can't let go."
The major breakup where the guys get on the bus, the 2 rivals that were dating, but now they're going to separate conferences. So good.
Oh, but we digress. Let's get back to baseball and Annie's report.
Okay, had to help my mom with her YouTube channel. Okay, Shohei Ohtani is making himself available to reporters today to address the illegal gambling and theft allegations against his former interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, and potentially against Ohtani. Ohtani will speak at 2:45 p.m. with a prepared statement, but will not take any questions, per Alden Gonzalez of ESPN. The Phillies announced this morning that they've signed left-hander and old friend Matt Strahm to a one-year extension. Per reports, the deal will guarantee Strahm $7.5 million in 2025. It will also include a vesting club option for that same amount if he pitches at least 60 innings. I believe the following year, if I have that written right. Orioles owner Peter Angelos passed away over the weekend at age 94. Angelos had been battling illness over the last few years. He had left the public eye. His son John took over as the Orioles chairman and control person in 2020. Angelos led a group of investors that purchased the Orioles in 1993 for $173 million. The Padres will play an exhibition game today against the Mariners at 6:40 p.m. at Petco Park. Dylan Cease will be on the mound for the Padres.
Let's go Padres. That game on The Fan, 640, and also on Padres.com as well. I've got your soccer report to get things started. And sure, let's get things started last night down in Dallas, where the U.S. men's national team lifted the CONCACAF Nations Cup for the third straight time, beating Mexico 2-0. Tyler Adams, the captain, made his return from injury to the U.S. lineup and made his presence felt at the end of the first half.
Back line, McKinney, Adams, my fancy hit, he goes. Sensational from two lines. Albania, defending it will find it. The U.S. lead Mexico by a goal today.
Tyler Adams from 35 yards out curves it through the defense for 1-0. Gio Reyna added a goal in the second half. U.S. wins the Nation Cup. They beat Mexico 2-0. Meanwhile, at Snapdragon Stadium on Saturday night, more history for San Diego Wave FC. They set the NWSL record for biggest home opener crowd, 32,066, dodging and daring the raindrops to Wave. San Diego took a 1-0 lead in the 20th minute on Sophia Jakobsen's goal, but Kansas City really took over the tempo from there. A VAR review in the 70th minute gave the Current a penalty kick. Lo LaBonta, their captain, slotted it past Kalen Sheridan, and Kansas City Current improved to 2-0, beating the Wave 2-1 on Saturday night. Right back at it for the Wave Friday evening. They will host Seattle Reign back at the Snap. We take it back to Braden for more college news and other stuff, too.
College news, college baseball news, and I'll also have high school baseball news for you as well. We'll start with college baseball over the weekend. Tough weekend for a lot of the local teams. St. Mary's was able to get USD in a 2-game sweep on Friday in a doubleheader. They had to move the game up, obviously, with rain in the area. USD lost both those games by 1 run, and then they took their aggression out on St. Mary's on Saturday when they beat them 16-2. So USD hopefully trending in the right direction. They will host Cal State Fullerton tomorrow at Fowler Park in beautiful San Diego, California. So a 1-2 start to West Coast Conference play. Tough way to start if you're the Toreros, but you know what? That's baseball. As for the Aztecs, tough weekend in Hawaii. They lost 16-5 on Saturday. Played a doubleheader yesterday. Lost 16-0 and 6-5.
Oh Lord!
Against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Not a conference game, even though they're both in the same conference in the Mountain West for others for football. Hawaii's in the Big West. So a non-conference series for the Aztecs. So it doesn't hurt them in the standings, but it's been tough sledding for San Diego State, who has won one game in their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One of their last 9 games when they beat Riverside on a Tuesday night.
So give up 32 runs in Hawaii
after giving up 30 runs in Colorado Springs.
My
against
golly.
Air Force. So it's been tough sledding for the Aztecs. They are now 6-16 on the season. As for the Tritons, drastic difference from them and San Diego State. They split so far at UC Davis. For some reason, it looks like they're going to play their final game today. up in Davis, California.
Probably rain.
Lost game 1 2-0 to Davis, won game 2 2-1. UC San Diego, right in the thick of things in the Big West standings. They can win the Big West championship, but they cannot advance to the NCAA tournament. This, again, their final sports that they have to deal with this with. But good showing out of them after taking 2 out of 3 from Fullerton last weekend. They will be playing no weekday games this week or for the foreseeable future until they play USD on Tuesday, April 9th. They'll have a couple of more Big West series mixed in there. As for high school baseball, top 10 is out and it is chaos. About 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 10 teams in high school baseball have votes for number 1 in the county.
Oh, wow. Geez.
La Costa Canyon has the most first place votes. They have 13. They have not played a game in 16 days because of rain and other things. So La Costa Canyon is 3-1 on the season. Haven't played in over 2 weeks. Cathedral, 3 votes for the top spot. They're 8-2. St. Augustine had a big win over Granite Hills last week. They come in at number 3 with 3 first place votes. Torrey Pines and Carlsbad both get 2 first place votes. They're at 4 and 5 respectively. Granite Hills got a first place vote at 7-2. They're 6th in the county. Patrick Henry, Rancho Bernardo, Eastlake, and San Marcos rounding up the top 10. Others receiving votes: Sage Creek, Jocelyn, Coronado, Steel Canyon, and University City. That is your top 10 in baseball in town for high school baseball. That's it for me.
All right, over to Annie as we switch inside the arenas for the NBA and NHL.
All right, last night in the NBA, the Lakers had their highest scoring night since 1987, outrunning the Indiana Pacers 150-145 at the Crypto.com Arena. Anthony Davis with 36 points and 16 rebounds for the Lakers, who are locking into the 9th spot in the West. They are 2.5 games behind Dallas for 8th and 2.5 games ahead of Golden State for 10th. In the first meeting between the 76ers and the Clippers since the James Harden trade, the 76ers came to Crypto and blew out LA 121-107. The Sixers scored 41 points in the first quarter to set the tone. Head coach called the effort embarrassing. The battle in the NBA Western Conference is now for 10th place. Houston has won 7 in a row, and they are just a game behind Golden State for the final play-in spot. The Rockets host Portland tonight, while Indiana stays in LA to take on the Clippers. And in the NHL last night, the Ducks lost to Tampa Bay 3-2 in a shootout. Tonight, the Kings are in Vancouver.
All right, and back to me for arena action, and we'll throw some rugby in and some golf as well. San Diego Gulls dropped a pair this weekend at Pechanga Arena. They lost to the Texas Stars 4-2 on Friday night, to the Calgary Wranglers 8-4 on Sunday evening. Glenn Godin netted a hat trick on Sunday, does lead the Gulls with 21 goals. San Diego, though, has sunk back. They're now just 1 point out of last place, 1 point ahead of San Jose for 10th. The San Diego Seals thrilled the home crowd on Saturday night, rallying from 5-1 down. They beat the Las Vegas Desert Dogs 10-9 in overtime. Trey LeClaire netted a hat trick, including the golden goal. No official word as to whether Woodsy sang with Bret Michaels in the postgame concert afterwards, but I assume that he would have after such a dramatic win. It was nothing but a good time, as it turned out, for the San Diego Seals. Don't get better than this. Sockers could have been better. They split a pair on the road this weekend. Friday night, they took down the Milwaukee Wave 3-2. Impressive win. Milwaukee hadn't taken a regulation loss at home all season. Got their first and only from San Diego. However, team had to drive across from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Kansas City, Missouri for the very next night, where they had a sold-out crowd. Were announcing the retirement of their all-time leading scorer, Leo Gibson, and the Comets really took it to the Sockers. Beat them up in the first quarter. Sockers came back, took a 5-4 lead, and then Kansas City scored 6 goals in a row in the fourth quarter. 10-6 the final score. Sockers went 0-2 against KC this year. Although these games didn't really mean anything for the Sockers, they are home for their regular season finale Saturday against Tacoma. San Diego Mojo. Let's go Mojo. Got their first ever road win last night. They beat the Vegas Thrill in straight sets. Mojo now 3-6. They go to Atlanta, number 1 team in the league, on the road next Saturday. San Diego Legion won on the road against Old Glory 27-11 on Saturday afternoon. Legion are now 2-1 on the season. They are back on the road Sunday in Miami. Lastly, in the PGA, Peter Malnati won the Valspar Championship If you want to hear more about that, surf back to What's Good in our 1035 segment where we laid it all out in explicit detail. Well, exquisite detail. There was nothing explicit about it. Great story. Peter Malnati, congrats to him. And that's it for today's 12 o'clock Sports Fix.
Good thing we only had 22 seconds left on the bumper.
Well, we can just let it play out.
That's right.
Okay. We won't.
Jumpin' Jack Flash.
It's a gas.
The amount of people that have asked me what that song's called.
Really?
Higher than I thought it would be, because I thought that was a popular enough song that people would know what it was.
It's decades old.
Yeah. Like, well, apparently the young people don't know that. That's a new song. That's pretty good. Do you like it's not new.
I am kind of blown away sometimes by the things that people don't know. What was it? Oh, I was watching The Amazing Race this week. You guys know I watch all these reality shows.
Yes.
And there were,
I don't know how you have the time to do everything that you do, by the way.
Oh,
it's amazing.
Usually while I'm running
you need to
or
teach.
something.
I'm sorry. You got to teach a class in college of time management. I don't know how you do
That's
it.
fair.
I don't know how you do it.
That's fair.
So it's honestly, it's impressive.
I always sneak in a 30-minute nap in the afternoon too.
And you nap. What? How do you do all this? I don't understand.
Just keep going until 10:30. Like,
nonstop, just content. You know what I figured? You're listening to podcasts while watching shows, while working out, and walking your dog.
Anyways, to sell it off, there were these two young kids, and they were supposed to run to the pit stop, which was a bridge that Elizabeth Taylor and somebody else famously lived in Rome, and they had to just stop and ask people, like, who is Elizabeth Taylor? Who is that? And I'm just like, oh my God. I mean, I get it, but it's like one of the most famous people of the previous half century. But now there's people like, I don't know who Elizabeth Taylor is.
Who are our people? There were people, right, when you were growing up that
I have no
how
idea
did you
who
not know
Elizabeth
who that
Taylor is.
person is? I know. I'm sure that's happened to me a million times. But yeah, the next generation, they're like, huh?
Whippersnappers these days don't even know Elizabeth Taylor's name.
I have no idea who Elizabeth Taylor is. I just had to look her
Seriously?
up. Yeah, no idea. I guess she was in the Flintstones in 1994. Cleopatra. Cat on the Hot Tin Roof.
Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. She was one of the most beautiful women in the world.
Really?
Yes. She was one of the most famous, most beautiful women in the world in the 50s and 60s. I want to say 60s and early 60s. Yeah.
It's possible. She died in 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea who that is.
I could see how you don't know who that is.
I was born in 1995, right?
Unless
So-
you're watching those movies.
Well, like your parents could have exposed you.
yeah.
To
My
Elizabeth
parents
Taylor.
exposed me to like 80s movies because that's when they were like growing up, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like that, I know like 80s stuff, but I don't know like 50s and 60s stuff aside from the stuff I probably slept through during my media classes at TCU where I had to learn about the history of broadcasting.
Yeah.
But I don't know any of those people. My moment, how about this? This made me feel old. One of the kids at football practice, made like a interception like this, right? Like Antonio Cromartie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like Antonio Cromartie. And the kid was like, who's that? I was like, what do you mean, who is that? It's not even that long ago. What are you talking about? And he's like, I've never heard of that guy before. And then the next day at practice, he was like, oh, I looked him up. He was pretty good. I didn't know. It's like the Chargers used to play in San Diego.
Oh, man. And for the first time, Braden felt old.
I was like,
that
are you
day.
for real? Are you for real? I mean, they barely know they don't even know who LaDainian Tomlinson is.
Right.
It's like, what?
I knew,
But then you
I
think
knew
about
I was gonna
it.
get a text on Elizabeth Taylor, and it came through right now.
No
From
idea
her
who
mom.
that is.
Yeah.
But again, I was born in the 90s. Like, how am I supposed to know who that is? She died in 2011. She was already done making movies. I don't
I
watch those
understand.
movies.
Who would be that person
I don't know.
in today's culture is so fragmented in terms of, but I mean, I don't know.
Diana Ross
Beyonce
sounds familiar.
like not a movie star, although she's been in movies, but like a movie star that was also a global sex symbol icon, coveted, et cetera, et cetera. Famously married to Richard Burton. That's who there was this archway, this bridge, and in the clue it says this is the bridge that Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton would use to escape the paparazzi when they were living in Rome. And these kids are like, can you Google? And then look, Braden had to do it too.
I have no idea. But here's the thing too with me, it's like I know who athletes are, but I don't really know. I couldn't even tell you like current stars. I've seen their faces, and I'm like, that's the guy from this movie, but I would have no idea what their names are.
Yeah.
Unless it's in like a movie like I absolutely love, and I go, oh, I know who that is. But I couldn't really tell you most actors' names. I'd be like, I know that guy from this. I have no idea who that is.
Oh, that guy.
Right. And people
With the
like
face in the thing.
people always laugh, and then my response is, "Do you know who DJ Fluker is?" And they're like, "What? Who's that?" And like, "Well, he played offensive line for the Chargers. He was that draft pick." And then they're like, "Why would I know that?" I'm like, "Well, why would I know who the celebrity is? That's what you're into. I'm not into that stuff. I'm into sports.
That's
like
fair.
I know athletes, right? I mean, I could tell you who the back. I used to be able to know the entire roster of the Chargers when they're in town. I mean, do you think most people know who Reese Kinnear is?
Oh my God.
Absolutely not. I mean, but I know who
The more
Reese
that
Kinnear
forget him
is,
will be okay.
right? I mean, come on.
Well, all of our hosts' cultural knowledge will be tested when they convert into panelists just 20 minutes from now for another edition of Match Game. We'll try and run Scraby down in the hallway as well. That's coming up. First, we'll take a quick timeout. And when we return, Kim Mulkey, LSU women's basketball head coach, lit the fuse on her own stick of dynamite after LSU's win in the NCAA basketball tournament. Anti-journalism 101 when we return. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. Listen to Sam Levitt's podcast, Inside San Diego Baseball, where Sam covers everything going on with the Padres. You can find it at 973thefansd.com or the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts, including Annie and Elsten. If you listen to us on podcast right now from some time in the distant future, why not be so kind to us and right there inside your podcast app, just, that little tiny push down to hit the 5 stars. Give us that 5-star. Want to write something nice about the show? That would be awesome. Always stinks when one person drops a 1-star written review and then it just sits there. And I can't say for sure that that's happened to us, but I've seen it happen. So, just be kind.
I want to tell these people I do not know who Raquel Welch is. I do know who Farrah Fawcett is, though.
And as I told Braden during the break, very similar time zones in terms of mid to late 70s, most beautiful woman on earth.
I know Farrah Fawcett on. How about that?
Bo Derek. Bo Derek also in a very similar class there. The movie 10. When I was a kid, everyone was with Dudley Moore and Bo Derek running down the beach. That was a very famous movie. I think 1980 or thereabouts.
I've seen 16 Candles and
Breakfast Club.
Yes, Breakfast Club. There's a Breakfast Club reference of the weekend, by the way. They met they had detention on March 24th back in 1980.
There you go.
Back in 1984, 40 years ago.
Oh man. All right. Generations on display here on Annie and Elsten.
That's a great. Have you played? I know you want to get to this Kim Mulkey thing, but there's a board game. Have you ever played it, Craig? Called Mind the Gap.
No, what's that?
It's a board game. It's pretty fun, but it's they have the 4 generations with questions. And so you go around the board. It's fun when you play with multi-generational groups. So they have it from the boomers through Gen Xers, millennials and Gen Zs. And around the board, they have different pop culture questions from that era. And so it was fun where my grandparents were over and we split them up. And then, my parents and then the siblings and then a couple other friends were over. But every team, both teams had one of each generation.
Oh, that's great.
And you had to get through and you're all right, well, we're in the boomer section. So Papa, you're going to have to remember some stuff here or else we're in some serious trouble. But it's a pretty fun game when you play you do a family game night with your kids and maybe some people from different generations, because then you can get those questions. But it's hilarious. My grandparents ripped through the boomer questions they were the easiest things ever, and then my brother and sister could do the Gen Zs, and I had the millennial ones all down, and then the other parts of the generations had no idea the other answers. It's hilarious.
I got to check that out.
It's a pretty great game. It's
especially if you got a for a family get together for something like that for Thanksgiving or something. That's awesome. All right, transitioning to less awesome. LSU's basketball program, women's basketball program, is awesome. Kim Mulkey is a great head coach. She's won wherever she's gone. She brings, as Braden was telling us during a break, the attendance wherever she goes. And so it is for LSU. And so she's also been around the block, understands how things work in the world, but she wouldn't have known it after LSU's tournament win yesterday, when Kim Mulkey, who has apparently been getting contacted by a well-known Washington Post sports reporter for an upcoming story. He's been seeking an interview that she has been unwilling to provide. And as is journalistic practice, is what you're supposed to do anytime that you're publishing for really anywhere, but a major newspaper, it's absolutely required. A place like the Washington Post, it's beyond required that you contact the person that the story is about. You give them the story, you let them read the story, and you offer them the opportunity to comment on the story. And you give that to them before it comes out, maybe a couple days, maybe a week, but you give it to them and you give them that chance to respond to it. Well, apparently this happened last week. And instead of answering the questions, which she didn't do, Kim Mulkey decided to go on a post-game press conference and turn it into an attack on the reporter and on journalism. Here's a piece of what she had to say.
This reporter has been working on a story about me for 2 years. After 2 years of trying to get me to sit with him for an interview, he contacts LSU on Tuesday as we were getting ready for the first round game of this tournament with more than a dozen questions, demanding a response by Thursday, right before we're scheduled to tip off. Are you kidding me? This was a ridiculous deadline that LSU and I could not possibly meet, and the reporter knew it. It was just an attempt to prevent me from commenting and an attempt to distract us from this tournament. It ain't gonna work, buddy. Unfortunately, this is part of a pattern that goes back years. I told this reporter 2 years ago that I didn't appreciate the hit job he wrote on Brian Kelly. And that's why I wasn't going to do an interview with him. After that, the reporter called 2 former college coaches of mine and left multiple messages that he was with me in Baton Rouge to get them to call him back. Trying to trick these coaches into believing that I was working with the Washington Post on a story. When my former coaches spoke to him and found out that I wasn't talking with the reporter, they were just distraught. And they felt completely misled. Former players have told me that the Washington Post has contacted them and offered to let them be anonymous in a story if they'll say negative things about me. The Washington Post has called former disgruntled players to get negative quotes to include in their story. They're ignoring the 40 plus years of positive stories that people or they have heard from people about me. But you see, reporters who give a megaphone to a one-sided, embellished version of things aren't trying to tell the truth. They're trying to sell newspapers and feed the click machine. This is exactly why people don't trust journalists and the media anymore.
All right, let's stop it right there. She goes on to say that she has hired the world's best firm for public defamation, and that if the Washington Post publishes an untrue story, I will sue the Washington Post. Now, it's a very familiar old-ass playbook, Annie, of rip a journalist, and that's why you can't trust journalists or journalism these days. Everything she said, please corroborate for me and the audience, is the absolute proper way that this man is supposed to report out a story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that her supporters are going to be like, yes, slamming your fist on the table. And she said she's not going to take it and she's mad as hell and all that stuff. The Washington Post reporter is going about this exactly how it's supposed to be done. She comes across as soft in this. Like, to me, it comes across as just soft when you can't handle some criticism. This guy clearly working on a story for 2 years. I guarantee you now, this Washington Post story will be buttoned up, higher than your blouse on church on Sundays, because they will make sure there is nothing that is not sourced, well-sourced, gone through the proper channels that makes it into this story. And I'm sure that there will be good stories about her. It seems like she knows something is going to come out that's going to make her look bad or possibly look bad. But he's been trying to get a hold of her. He's been trying to sit down with her. She's neglected all those invitations. And then, you give notice and you let them know that the story is going to go to print. And if they refuse to put out a statement or answer any questions, then that's on the other person. But you give them a heads up. And that's exactly like she's getting 48 hours or whatever it was, 72 hours. I mean, that's a long time, honestly.
Well, how about the 2 years prior?
Yeah, she had 2 years. Exactly.
I thought the audacity of this man has been trying to interview me for 2 years.
I said
no. And then they give me questions and expect me to answer them now.
Well, to send her something right for the NCAA tournament and say, I need this within whatever time, I think is BS. That is BS. That's BS. He knows it. And that's why he did that, because he knew they weren't going to get an answer, and it plays into his favor. So I do agree with Kim Mulkey on that sense. Where I disagree with Kim Mulkey is, why waste your time talking about it?
100%.
Why waste your time talking about it? But I don't think this guy is that ethical and I read through some of his other stuff. Some of his other stuff is very much reaching on things for certain agendas that he potentially has. I'm not a Brian Kelly fan either, but his article on the Brian Kelly situation was also BS. He's looking for an S storm, and he's created it. And unfortunately for Kim Mulkey, she played herself into the S storm created by this journalist. We're going to call him a journalist.
I guarantee he is. And if this is just my point. We got to take a break because we want to give time for our contestants for match game. But if the story just comes out, first of all, if she could cooperate with the story, which is
she had 2 years to do that by all means. Yeah, absolutely.
Something you can do, and you can make sure that your side of the story is in there, and it will be printed if she gives that side. The other thing you could do if you're going to stonewall the story is let it come out and ignore it.
Yes.
And just ignore it, because I'll tell you right now that if somebody just randomly told me, hey, did you see the Washington Post had this big story on Kim Mulkey, the LSU women's basketball coach? I'd be like, oh, that's cool. And like, maybe I'd go read it, but
I'd have zero interest in
quite possibly I wouldn't, and I wouldn't care, and I'd go on with my day. But now I'm reading it. Like now that she said it all, there's terrible things coming out, and I won't stand for it. And I will just make you a friendly, non-monetary wager right now. Anyone who wants to take it, she will never sue the Washington Post.
No. The other thing I thought was kind of ridiculous too is, and who knows, this is her word versus his word, about contacting other coaches saying that he had talked to Mulkey already and all this other stuff to try to get them to answer. I also think is BS. And I also know that's going on with a lot of reporters. So that's also unethical. I think both of these sides are ridiculous, and it's getting to a point where some of this as a journalism grad, some of this stuff is getting utterly ridiculous.
It's hard to work around a Stonewall, though, unless you just don't want to report. So I don't know. That part is an accusation by Kim Mulkey. So she's accusing him of doing something that's not provable directly unless someone else comes out and says, yes, this happened to me. Right. So otherwise, that could just be her throwing dirt at the dude.
It could be.
Who could have just literally called the coach, said, I'm doing a story about Kim Mulkey, and I'd like and they said, doing a story with Kim Mulkey. Like, all right, let's take a break. When we come back, it's time for match game, and we're looking for 2 contestants to play the match game. Scraby is recording something down the hall, so you're going to be stuck with me as your third panelist today. It's going to be you. It's going to be us. Take on us, not taking us on. See if you can match us, and whoever does best is going to be qualified for our end of the month drawing coming up now in just a week or so for our grand prize, a 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, and dinner for 2. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. We are looking for 2 contestants to play the match game when we come back. Silly Games. Annie and Elsten right here on 97.3 The Fan. 12:46. Let's get to it. It's that time of the show. It's time for Silly Games. Yeah. Now we're ready. Silly Games is our daily contest segment here on Annie and Elsten. We have a rotating slate of games to play. Each one of them has the end goal of qualifying a contestant for our end of the month drawing for a 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, and a $150 dinner credit. And today, hey, I'm wearing the shirt. We're playing the match game. Let's go. This is your chance to match the stars, Annie, Braden, and myself. And we've got 2 contestants on the line, one of whom will be qualified. Let's welcome in John in Lakeside. Hi, John. How are you?
Hey, guys. I'm doing good.
Great. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've just got a day off from work, and I thought I'd play the game.
Love it, John. Happy to take up part of your lunch hour today on your day off. You will be going against Mike in San Diego. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Very good, Craig. How are you?
Doing well, buddy. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. Born and raised in San Diego, graduate of San Diego State, and I'm rooting for the Aztecs to get sweet revenge on Connecticut.
I love it. Let's see if that happens on Thursday. Maybe we'll just have the best sports Thursday possible. Opening day win, Aztec Sweet 16 win. Let's get her done. Okay, this is the match game, guys. This is how it's going to go. You are facing one another going head to head. There's going to be 2 rounds. In each round, you will each get 1 question. I'll read the prompt. We will each write down our answer to the question. I'll give you the question. You'll give us your answer. And the goal is to match what we write down. Every match is worth a point. We'll play 2 rounds with a question each per round, and whoever's got the most at the end is the winner. Sound good?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, John, you called in first, so you are contestant number 1. That means in round 1, you have the option of selecting question A or question B. Which would you like?
Well, let's go with question A.
Question A it is. All right, music down. Panelists, including myself, be ready. Those kids from Yale, they had no chance last night. While Coach Dutch was studying game film, they were studying blank. Those kids from Yale, they had no chance last night. While Coach Dutch was studying game film, they were studying blank. Hang on, wait. Don't say anything yet. We're writing down our answer. Panelists, let me know when you've got your answers.
Done.
Is that the silent nod of being done? It's still an audio medium. All right, so we're done. Okay. We've got our answers, John. So now we turn to you. I'll say the question one more time. Those kids from Yale had no chance last night. While Coach Dutch was studying game film, they were studying.
I'm gonna go and say girls.
Studying girls. Studying the little ladies. All right, let's go to our resident female, Annie Heilbrunn.
I said science.
Science, yeah,
Sure,
Yale
yeah.
kids.
Science.
Yale kids. Okay. How about you, Braden?
I went with the science theme too. I went with physics.
Oh, that's good.
They're studying physics.
That makes sense. And just in case you were thinking liberal arts, John, I went poetry.
Poetry in motion.
So they were studying poetry. So we were kind of going with the idea about Yale, smart kids, academics. That was the idea there. I think the kids from San Diego State or Chico State might study the girls. Okay. No matches for John, but that's okay. You'll get a second chance. Mike, here is your opportunity. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Hold your thoughts in your mind. Here is the question. Panelists, listen up. Delilah said, hopefully you guys are listeners to the morning show and you know who Delilah is.
Hey there, Delilah.
Delilah said, this guy won't give me a break. I just want to give him a dance. And all he wants to do is talk about blank.
Okay.
Delilah said, this guy won't give me a break. I just want to give him a dance. And he wants to talk about blank. All right, I got
I
mine.
didn't listen to the.
I got mine.
I didn't.
Got mine.
Hang on. Andy's got hers.
I
Braden?
got mine as well.
Okay. All right, Mike. If you don't know, Mike, so you're saying you don't listen, you haven't heard Ben and Woods reference Delilah?
I didn't.
Well, she's a self-employed model who works at a gentleman's club in Arizona that Ben and Woods visited when they went to spring training. So,
Oh, okay.
all right. So that, yeah, if that helps you, it helps you think a little bit what kind of dance she wanted to give him. But all he wanted to do was talk about. So here's the question again. We want your answer now. Delilah said, This guy won't give me a break. I just want to give him a dance. And all he wants to do is talk about blank.
Pole dancing?
Pole dancing. All right. Don't know if you're going to get a match on that one. But
You're not getting it from me because I just put basketball.
Basketball, Ben.
I
That
put
makes sense.
Sports.
And I put golf.
Put a valiant effort.
Oh, wow. No, and the hockey horn.
The three misses equals the hockey horn.
Oh, wow. Okay, John and Mike, we're going to round 2. You are tied at 0. But here we go. I've got a good idea. One of you guys will get a match here eventually. Now it is your turn, Mike, to select A or B.
I'll go with A.
Okay, question A for Mike. Panelists, are you ready?
Yes.
Kooky Kim had it all wrong. That reporter didn't want quotes for a hit piece. He wanted blank. Kooky Kim had it all wrong. This question's ripped from the headlines today. Kooky Kim had it all wrong. That reporter didn't want quotes on a hit piece. He wanted blank. Panelists?
Got it.
Got it.
All right. I'm going to write mine down. I'm reading. I got to read and write at the same time. Okay. I got mine. All right. Mike, back to you. Music fades. Mike, back to you. Kooky Kim had it all wrong. That reporter didn't want quotes for a hit piece. He wanted
Gambling tips?
Gambling tips.
That's a pretty good one.
That was a good one.
That is a good one. I like that. What do you got? Annie?
I've just tickets to a game.
Just wanted tickets.
Yeah, I wanted some tickets.
Fair. It's fair. Okay. No match there.
No match there.
Braden?
Coaching tips.
Coaching tips. Well, I put what were we looking for? We looking for
You said something about Kooky Kim.
yeah. I said a recipe. Looking for a recipe. Just wanted a recipe. What's your favorite muffin recipe there, Kim? For 2 years I've been trying to ask you for that muffin recipe. You won't give it to me. All right. Well, what that means now, John, is with just one match, you could win the game. Otherwise, we're going to a tiebreaker for the third straight game.
All right.
John, here we go. Here's your question. Now, when I say how someone is so something, what do? You say how so-and-so was he, right?
Oh, that's
okay.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
Just want to make sure you're ready. Mixed up mud was all mixed up.
How mixed up was he?
How mixed up was it?
He was so mixed up. When everyone else grew a mustache, he grew blank. Wow.
Well, didn't spill your lunch over there?
Yeah, I think we just had a tumbler pour. Mixed up mud was all mixed up. How mixed up was he? He was so mixed up. When everyone else grew a mustache, he grew blank. Okay, I got one. You guys got one?
mine.
Got mine.
All right, here we go, John. This is for the win. One match gets you the win. Mixed up mud was all mixed up. He was so mixed up. When everyone else grew a mustache, he grew.
Well, I do love mud, and I think he would look good in a beard.
He grew a beard. He grew a beard. All right, let's see if we've got a winner for John out there.
Beard.
There it is.
There
it
we
is.
go.
Annie has
I got you.
matched 1-0. We've got the win for you. Let's see who else. What else we got? Braden, did you go?
I had beard originally, and then I changed it to hair on his head.
And that's what I did too. I did hair on his head. However, one match is enough, John. Congratulations.
John.
You're the winner of the match game today. And you are qualified now for our end of the month drawing for a 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, and dinner for two. John, well played, sir. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Mike, well done. We've got some parting gifts for you backstage. Thanks so much for being on the Match Game.
All right. It was a lot of fun.
We don't actually have any parting gifts, but we do say thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time. All right, that's Match Game for a Monday. We'll be back and play Hot Potato tomorrow. But when we come back, 1 o'clock hour of Annie and Elsten, including guests to start things off. Huge weekend in soccer. Men's national team win, Wave lose. Ochoa to SDFC. Tony Sanchez from Two Balls and a Mic will be here to break it all down for us when we come back on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Hour number 4 of the show. Hour number show of the 4. Well,
close enough.
Long weekend for you, Chris?
Sometimes it just comes out wrong. It is Monday. Looks like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Wait, dude.
Guess that's me.
Did I get this confused? Like when you work every single day, you're in a rhythm, and then the day off throws you off, or is that Ben?
That's Ben.
Ben's got the day off. So
I
now
love
you have
getting
no.
a
You have
day.
no.
Yeah, I
excuse.
really don't.
You have
I
no
mean,
excuse.
if we had
Hour
done
4
the
is
show
always delirium.
yesterday, what's that?
Hour 4 is always kind of delirium.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a long thing, but we're happy to be here.
Of course.
It's a dream job. We're psyched to be here.
It's a Monday.
Hour number 4 of Annie and Elsten on the Fan. We have had a lot of road to cover so far on the program, but we have not talked about some of the biggest stories that affected San Diego sports this weekend. Heading out Snapdragon Stadium way. San Diego Wave, 32,000 plus in the house, but the result does not come their direction. Kansas City Current gets the win 2-1. U.S. men's national team wins the CONCACAF Nations Cup, and we get our first major rumor for an international star to come to San Diego Football Club in 2025. To cover all this ground, nobody better to welcome onto the show for the first time than my friend Tony Sanchez, who, along with Alejandro Chiva Villaseñor, has been hosting Two Balls and a Mic, San Diego's soccer news podcast, I believe, for over 3 years now running, as well as San Diego Punto Futbol, where you can see all of their work in written form, as well, a journalist who covers all the soccer teams in town, and also my co-host of Soccer's Overtime Tuesday nights on Twitch, as well as color partner on Soccer's broadcasts. It's Tony Sanchez joining us for the first time on Annie and Elsten. Craig and Annie here with you. Tony, thanks for some time on your lunch break here.
Absolutely, Craig. How's it going, Annie and everybody? Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Thanks for being on.
Pleasure is ours, my friend. Let's start things off Saturday night at the Snap. Exciting to see that the weather stayed away at least long enough to get everyone into the Fan Fest, to get almost everybody into the stadium. They announced 32,000, and the Wave came out hot. But the result was all Kansas City in the end, 2-1. What did you take away from what you saw on the match Saturday night?
So it was an interesting matchup because this was the first game of the league. However, San Diego Wave had already played in the Challenge Cup and off-season tournament the week before, and they were successful in bringing that championship, that silverware here to San Diego. But it seemed almost like a dress rehearsal for what's to come later in the season. You had a KC Current team with fantastic stars, and ultimately it came down to a result of video assistant referee giving a penalty to be the deciding factor. But overall, you see some exciting stars for the San Diego Wave coming in to add to their base of stellar players like Naomi Gurma, Jaden Shaw, Alex Morgan, who everybody at this point knows here in San Diego and is synonymous with the game.
Were you surprised to see Jaden Shaw come off the bench on Saturday instead of starting?
So with speaking with head coach Casey Stoney, she mentioned in the post-match conference that the reason was that Jaden Shaw wasn't completely match fit. So she did have some energy and some legs under her in order to try to be a factor here in the second half. But it was a surprise at the beginning. But with that context given by head coach Casey Stoney, it's understandable why she wasn't a starter here. She thought that with the starting 11 that Casey had was going to be enough to take KC Current on, but unfortunately that wasn't the case here.
You know, we talk about changes and additions for the Wave. KC Current maybe had some of the biggest changes and additions in the offseason. They bring in the Brazilian number 10, Bia Zanerato, who wore 9, brought in an African forward, number 6, who was, I thought, dynamic, especially in the first half, really impacting the match in the offensive third. And as she was waiting with her sub on the sideline, waiting to sub in for her, Zanerato winds up drawing that penalty with a sharp cut inside the box. I didn't know that it was a penalty or not, but I thought Kansas City really, really brought it.
Absolutely. And then they have one of the best goalkeepers in the league in France, who in this league, if you have a good goalkeeper in the back, as San Diego Wave fans know, having Kaylin Sheridan, that's going to be a determining factor, an X factor per se. And France is one of the best in the league, if not the world as well. So what you get at Snapdragon Stadium is literally some of the best players on the globe going at it. And so I think at this point with Kansas City, who had the impetus of having that new stadium open, the first women's specific stadium, soccer specific stadium in the States, is something to really keep an eye on. They were kind of riding that momentum and that high from having stars like Patrick Mahomes and a lot of other people at Kansas City. So it's a tough team. This is an interesting league, 14 teams, and it's incredibly competitive. Some of the best players, like I said, in the world, some of the best that you're going to see anywhere.
What was the crowd like at Snapdragon for this game?
Snapdragon is home to some of the most passionate fans in the world, I'd say, just soccer sense. They're incredibly smart. They're intelligent. They know what it's like to be on top of the game. You have the sirens, the supporters section for the San Diego Wave in the Cove, as they've nicknamed it, in that standing room only. And honestly, it was electric. You had the pyrotechnics going on. The pageantry was all there. So it's everything that you'd want from an opening home match here at Snapdragon Stadium, except for perhaps the results. But overall, I think the fans know what they're getting into. They know what to expect. They know that they're going to see their stars. And, you know, aside from a positive result, I think everybody went home happy.
One last thing on the Wave match. We know this is a good team. They're going to be fine as the year goes on. They dropped the opener. That's a bummer. Kansas City's gotten 6 out of 6 in 2 trips here. That's a bummer too. But I look to Friday's match as the one that I'm very interested in because it's Seattle Reign coming to town, formerly named OL Reign. Seattle Reign. This is the team that eliminated San Diego in the semifinal last year. This is the team that spoiled the party when they had the chance to host the NWSL championship on their home field. What are you expecting Friday night when Reign comes to town?
So the Reign is actually one of those teams that is always having San Diego Wave's number. They have not been able to beat this new iteration, haven't faced them, but they haven't been able to get the best out of the OL Reign so far. But it's going to be a really interesting match, especially with the firepower that that Seattle has coming in. But it's also going to be a moment of adjustment with Casey Stoney and her squad now being able to have some of the players coming back from the Women's Gold Cup be match fit. It's going to be a different look, and it's going to have a different, a more dynamic approach instead of that 4-3-1-2 formation. They can go ahead and be a little bit more creative in transition, and they're going to go and probably get Jaden Shaw on there, because if I could say anything about this team is that Jaden Shaw on her own is going to be worth the price of admission.
That's great. Hey, Tony, moving over to the men's side and the U.S. men's national team, how do you think that last night's win went, and how do you think it sets up Team USA going forward?
So the U.S. has been having a great baseline for a couple of years. This generation of the U.S. men's national team is something that's been worked on for over a decade, going back to even the Jurgen Klinsmann days, where the whole system of academic of an academy system was revamped in order to have something like this. And you're seeing the benefit of being able to have a certain group of individuals train and play together and have a cohesive philosophy moving into now, where at this point, it used to be said as in Mexico, where it's going to not be in our lifetime that we're going to see the U.S. as favorites. Now it seems like every time the U.S. faces Mexico, the U.S. is going to be a favorite. So it's going to really have a good impact for them moving forward. And to have a team with such chemistry, it can not only be beneficial for the regional tournaments, but moving into the World Cup here in 2026.
I mean, it's so wild that they almost didn't make it. They pretty much should have lost the game to Jamaica, and it's an own goal header at the end that gets them to extra time, and then they get the dub. But boy, Gio Reyna came up huge in that extra time, and then Gio Reyna comes up with a goal in the second half yesterday. And I just can't help but think back to the World Cup and think back to all the controversy around Gio Reyna, and is he going to start, and is he lazy, is he this, is he that? Because from a scoring standpoint, I feel like he is the one guy on the U.S. side that I feel excited when the ball's at his foot or when he's involved and incorporated, that goals are going to come.
And then you can add that extra help that he has with Pulisic, McKinney, Weah, and those are the factors that really make this a great team sport, where you have that individual like Gio Reyna, who's absolutely doing amazingly over in Europe. And we've been knowing that this is going to be the pathway for his development, but it also helps to have a couple of other players, like I mentioned, helping him out and not only doing great, but really showcasing the fact that the European style of play for them is adapting well for the U.S. and they're able to take it to Mexico. I mean, just an example, Serginho Dest early in that game had an opportunity to score an absolute worldie, but then that gave Adams the confidence to take a shot from downtown. I was almost from California at this point, something Memo Ochoa wasn't able to get to, and leading to that first golazo.
All right, you brought up Memo Ochoa. Let's talk about this. You guys had it at San Diego Punto Football over the weekend that Ochoa is targeting San Diego FC as a future destination. This has been the Mexican national team goalkeeper for multiple World Cups in a row. But for the audience that may not know, who is Memo Ochoa? What's he all about? And what would this mean for San Diego at his age, also at age 38, if he decided to play next year as SDFC's keeper?
So Memo Ochoa is one of the reverent players in Mexico. He played for Club America, which was one of the two biggest teams in all of Mexico. And his trajectory was a little stunted. Everybody thought that he was going to make it over to Europe early in his career, perhaps getting scouted by Liverpool and such teams. Eventually, he made it over to the French division, the Premier Division, with Ajaccio, and he was a cult hero over there because he helped that team maintain in that top flight instead of being relegated. He's been a globetrotter since then. He's come back to Mexico. He's now playing in Italy in Saltalamacchia, and he's been able to really make a name for himself. But now in the twilight of his career, some questions are being asked, especially looking at that matchup last night where that age is starting to show. So the name of Memo Ochoa is one of the players that is known across the board. You want to talk about a household name, that's Guillermo Ochoa, also nicknamed Francois, just for his time over in France for a little bit, Francois Meme. But at this point, for SDFC to take a look at him, I think it'd be an interesting concept to mix in with their philosophy of Right to Dream, having that really young base, and then having Guillermo Ochoa as part of that veteran group that comes in and really impulses and pushes SDFC into trying to be competitive right out the gate in 2025.
I mean, Durand Ferry is what, 17?
Yeah.
Like Ochoa could literally be his dad in a very reasonable way.
Yeah, and the thing about goalkeepers is that the age limit or the age of them being in their prime is different from, say, the outdoor player, where an outdoor player could potentially be at their prime in the 24, 25, 26 range. Goalkeepers are said to have a later time frame for their prime in the early 30s, just because you developed mentally, you develop physically, and you're able to really become into your own style at that age. But even with Memo Ochoa going into his later 30s, I think he could be considered an older player, if not just a straight up old player.
Right. So, I mean, if this comes to pass, and we don't know, right? There's this is rumors, this is reporting out of Mexico, but were this to come to pass, it sounds like what you're saying is that this would kind of almost be a gate-driven signing, right? That you'd be signing Memo to get Mexican fans across the border, to try and have easy name recognition at the top, above and beyond maybe what he would provide on the pitch.
That's certainly an aspect that's going to be considered. And, the selling of the jerseys with Ochoa on the back with a number 13 or a number 1 is going to be selling out as soon as that happens, if that was to take place. But again, that's something that we'll see, because he's never had experience here in the MLS, and that's a different sort of approach that he may need to have. But overall, I think it'd be beneficial if SDSU wants to capture that Mexican audience and bring over somebody who everybody recognized. We saw with LAFC, and they hit a home run when they got Carlos Vela over from Real Sociedad. And so that was something that is definitely a blueprint already set. With Memo Ochoa, it's a little bit different because of his point in his career. So we'll see. It's exciting stuff, honestly. It's just getting some players finally signed up or being rumored across the global scale and the global network of transfers.
Yeah, until we have signings, we will have rumors, and we will take rumors and enjoy them. Tony, great stuff as always. Let everyone know where they can follow your work.
Absolutely. You can go ahead and follow everything at sandiego.futbol. That's sandiego.football, F-U-T-B-O-L, not .com, .football for everything soccer in San Diego.
Thank you so much, Tony Sanchez. We'll chat with you down the road, buddy. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you for having me on.
Tony Sanchez there. Two Balls and a Mic podcast. Find it wherever you get your podcasts. San Diego Punto Futbol. And just to make sure, Easy Money in the chat. Ochoa has not signed in San Diego. He has been rumored that he wants to come to San Diego, that he's targeting San Diego as the place he wants to go. You get 3 designated players.
Mm-hmm.
And for an expansion team like SDFC, I could kind of get it, Annie. Like even at 39, which is what he would be next year, Memo would bring attendance early. He would bring hype. He would sell merchandise. He'd be the poster boy, like poster man, quite literally. Like he'd be that person that would be on posters on billboards, etc. Whether he would lead us to an early playoff game, I don't know.
Yeah, great perspective there from Tony and great stuff. But if they got Memo, it would just be 1 of 3, right? They could get 2 more.
You get 2 more.
Okay.
Get someone in their prime or, mid-late prime.
I could see it then. If he was the only one, then I couldn't see it. But if you had 3,
yeah,
maybe it's a ticket driver.
That's what it would be for tickets.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're not going to win the cup or be at the top in your first year, having a good draw matters. And look, it's not the same. It's not the same. But the Wave getting Alex Morgan was the thing that made this team a draw at the beginning. And now we have this robust soccer culture that is here. I just want to say shout out to the Sirens, by the way, kind of tagging this off. You asked you asked Tony what the atmosphere was like.
Mm-hmm.
I remember back to the first game we did at Torero for San Diego Wave FC and being in the booth and having people from the club coming up like, hey, maybe say something when Kalen Sheridan makes a save. Maybe say something when someone makes a good shot. Like prompt basically the crowd on when it makes sense to cheer. Or I would always like say something right before kickoff, like, let's stay loud. Let's get behind the club for the next 45 minutes. Are you ready? And so I came into the booth Saturday kind of figuring, would need to do the same thing. And we got to that moment where the teams come out onto the pitch and it's right before opening kickoff where I would normally say something to hype up the crowd. And I looked and the Sirens were going. Like they were rocking. The drums were rolling. The songs were happening. The tifo was up. And I'm like, I don't have to say a word. And I didn't. Like, they've got this. I don't need to say anything to hype up the crowd. They've got this. And that's where we are, just the beginning of year 3. And it's already gotten to this spot where now it's happening. That supporter section was full. I saw pictures. All sorts of people who used to only support Loyal are there supporting Wave. It's really exciting.
Yeah, really, really cool. And just to know that the crowds were there for this home opener as they have been for the Wave, and the energy, the excitement is up. I mean, that's super fun.
Let's take a break. We've got plenty left to come. We're going to empty out the notebook when we get back, and then we've got to Ask Us Anything to wrap up the show. Plenty to get to between here and 2 when it's Gwyn and Chris. And we know it'll be Gwyn and Chris. And don't forget, tonight, 6:40, Dylan Cease on the mound as the Padres take on the Mariners. Final 2 exhibitions before we do this thing once again for real. You'll hear it all right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 126 on the Fan. Welcome back. It's Annie and Elsten. Gwen and Chris waiting in the wings. They'll be in at 2 o'clock. Exhibition baseball tonight at Petco Park, which also means Gallagher Square is open. All y'all that were out there conspiracy theorizing and saying it wouldn't. It's open. It's ready to go. And I guess Annie Braden's got some picks for us.
Awesome.
Yeah,
as well.
Sam
That's really
Levitt's
good.
down there for us. And so we're posting on the Fan. I saw a video from Bob Scanlon as well. So I'll try to put all those out there. But Tony Gwynn statue back in place. They had the ribbon cutting ceremony today as well. But it's pretty cool images of the new Gallagher Square around Petco Park.
So the playground looks pretty cool. They've got like a big swirly down slide and like that kind of like tunnely thing that you run through. These are official terms, of course.
Yes, tunnely thing. It's all, I mean, it's all roped off where you could, during times where they're not playing games, it's still a park. It's still an active park in downtown San Diego. Here's the overall view. Again, it's not a rendering. That is current what it looks like.
That's a picture.
That is an actual picture.
So they've kind of describing this for the radio. It looks like they have flattened the berm, right? They used to have a hill out there. They have taken the hill out. It's much more of a gradual.
It is a gradual hill. There is some like over here on the left side where like the hill usually was, but it's very much gradual and tiered seats of like concrete bench that you would see at like a high school,
which are designed for the stage.
Correct, for a concert. It looks like.
So when there's concerts out there on Gallagher Square, there's some like kind of almost look like parentheses in terms of concrete benches that you can sit on. There's also a big with kind of almost an arrow type design walkway going all the way through that.
A lot bigger concrete space in the middle too.
Yep.
With multiple pickleball courts, it looks like.
Yeah, what's the deal with this?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. There's a video from Sam Levitt, but I can see on the picture they have one roped off that they were playing pickleball at, but then I could see the court layouts here. So it looks like there's like 3 or 4 pickleball courts there for when they're out of town and it's a park. I guess you could go down there and play pickleball, maybe.
I mean, are they going to rent pickleball rackets? Or do they call it a racket? What are they? I don't know.
Well, most
paddles?
pickleball courts that they have like around town, you can bring your own, like in parks.
Yeah, but you can't bring in pickleball paddles to Petco Park for a game.
Well, not during a game.
Here's my blunt object.
There's no way they have that open during a game. It's just right in the middle. But like when they're out of town, off days or in the morning when it's an actual park, I would imagine you could play down there.
What I'd like to imagine is the person who bought a ticket to go to the game is like, you know what? I just really want to play pickleball.
Oh yeah, it's available
or somebody that doesn't like the sound of pickleball trying to watch the game and just hearing
cooking
back and forth.
Oh, I'm in your kitchen.
I do like the new kids park in the park.
Yeah, so there's still a kids diamond,
and they got a video board. That is a video board on the other side. It's just the back side, and they got a full-on fence, which is great. It's all turf. And then on this side, that's not being shown by pictures, on the foul pole, they do have a jack. Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
On top of the foul pole.
Again.
So it's like a very mini
jackhead. Oh, that's perfect. That's so cute.
So they
That's
got an
nice.
actual video board that's hooked up to the video board live. So you can have the games on while the kids are playing. And there's also a jack on top. I'll try to find more pictures for you.
Yeah, they have Fernando robbing a home run there too.
And also we have tonight's starting lineup. And it is the opening day starting lineup. At least it is the opening day starting lineup we've seen. So Bogarts, Tatis, and Crony, Machado, and Kim, and Profar.
In left.
In left. Campusano, Wade, Merrill.
So Wade's at third.
Wade's at third.
Okay.
Yes, it's the.
Yeah, that seems like what it's going to be.
It's what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, underneath the Tony Gwynn statue, you have some cool Tony Gwynn stuff too.
Neat.
Nice little mural, all his accolades,
Some facts.
right? One of his famous quotes, remember these 2 things, play hard and have fun.
That's cool.
Some pictures of Tony, throughout the years, signing autographs with the fans, and then the National Hall of Fame look of it as well, which is super cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anthony in the chat, we know who's pitching. It's Dylan Cease that's pitching tonight. I don't know the rest of who's pitching. Sometimes they lay that out for spring training, but I haven't. Things we're back in the Cactus League. By the way, can we win with these 2 results? Are we within range to win the Cactus League? Because
I don't think we are. I don't think we're in range on that. So no TVs for the boys.
they actually do get TVs. The
Yes,
winners?
Craig, they do get TVs.
Cactus League standings. Let's see who's going
They
to get the TV.
100% get TVs.
Let's see who's going to get those TVs this year. Remember, the Angels are back-to-back champions of the Cactus League.
Here is the
it's the stupid Dodgers this year.
free TVs for them. Good for them.
Edging out the Rockies, who finished 16-11.
They get to go to the local Best Buy and pick out their TV over there in Arizona. Here's a video from Bob Scanlon on the Gallagher Square that we can kind of put in the background. Pretty cool look. It is tiered. See how it kind of goes up a little bit.
Yeah, okay,
There's the
okay.
jack.
It looks, you can see more of the grade.
Yeah, it's a lot
from
more
here.
of a grade than that original picture shows.
Really cool.
I really like it.
No, it's super nice. Yeah. I was against it at the beginning because of just nostalgia and vibes. But that being said, wait, hold on. There he is.
There's Jack.
There's Jack.
So hang on, these pickleball courts. Like, what happens if there's a concert? They're not going to just still have that fence. That's like right where you want to stand.
Look at the fence. The fence is like a makeshift fence.
Right.
Like,
okay, so
they can
it can
remove
go.
that.
Oh, okay. So it can go down. Okay,
And then they
got
have
it,
like
got
the
it.
little like volleyball net poles and tennis pole for like the nets that they could take down. All they're going to have is they have the painted courts down there.
There it is. Okay.
I see 3. I don't see any more than that, but.
And then
little
they
pickleball
actually
court.
I don't know if they hired or asked for volunteers, but people would just go out there and play pickleball right now, just so that you can see it.
Be the models.
I love the jack is great. So that they actually get to put the jack on top of the foul pole like I would imagine really originally wanted to.
Right.
Without the knowing of if you hit the ball that high, like which part of jack would be fair.
It's
and which
fair.
one would be
Yeah.
foul.
Oh no, it hit the right eye.
Right. So that's why
Fair.
that's why it's all completely in fair territory. So if you were to hit jack, which would be rude, it would be a fair ball, it'd be a home run. But at the park it doesn't really matter. It's not.
No, I mean,
so you can have it now. Now the advertisement makes sense. Jack on top of the foul pole, like it's an antenna on your car.
Right. It's
Great.
awesome. Let's take our last break. When we come back, it is time to ask us anything. That is our end of the show. Call in, catch all segment. We absolutely invite you to dial us up 833-288-0973 if you'd like to give us a ring. 833-288-0973. If you don't, we've got questions in the chat. We've got the Delve deck, which can sometimes lead you into all sorts of places. So we'll handle it ourselves if we need to. But if you'd like to dial it up, we invite you to 833-288-0973. We only ask one thing. If you do give us a call, that you call in with a question that you would ask Annie and Braden and myself. Doesn't have to be about sports. Sometimes it's better if it's not. Nonetheless, have it be a question because, see, the name of the segment is Ask Us
Anything.
And that's what we're going to do when we come back. Annie and Elsten on the Fan. 1:40. Great show to get the week started. Super excited for the week to come here on Annie and Elsten. Wednesday will be tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a short show, right?
Tomorrow is a short show.
Now, we will be on only until 1 o'clock tomorrow because it'll be time for the day game, the Michael King start, as Vetter Cup preseason is almost done.
What's our record against the Mariners?
Well, all I know is that we're 9-9 in the spring, and they're 13-13. So something's got to give.
Right. It's happening.
Something's got to give.
So we're splitting these two games?
Yes. We're going to win one and lose one.
What's the handshake meme? With us and the Mariners being the exact same team on different sides.
Precisely. So that is coming up, 6:40. You can hear all the action. No pregame show today. Sam gets the next 2 days off, although obviously he doesn't have the day off. He's out at Gallagher Square, dutifully recording content for the station, but he does not have to do a show today. So we'll just have Jesse and Tony with you at 6:30, and I guess Scrabes will just go 6 to 6:30 today.
Sounds like it, right? Yeah.
Yep.
We'll just have a
Short
short
show for him today.
It'll only be a Scraby Chronicle. There will only be one Chronicle. There will not be Chronicles.
Yeah.
We'll just
be a lot more of those when the
Chronicle.
baseball season starts. At least start times.
What is the Spanish word for chronicle? That's another question that we could ask on a segment we call.
Her name is Annie. His name is Craig.
Hang on.
What happened?
Adam put it in a better spot. There you go.
La Crónica is the answer. La Crónica is the chronicle.
There you go. Un crónica.
Yeah, feminine. La Crónica. All right. 833-288-97.3 is the number. We've got some time. We've actually we've got a well spaced out Ask Us Anything today. So if you'd like to dial us up, you've got 8 full minutes to give us a call.
Wow.
833-288-0973.
Today's the day. Lucky y'all.
833-288-0973. We've been so bad, like classically at the clock in 1 p.m. that we've often gotten to this segment at like 1:46 and stuff like that. We've just, but not today.
And
It's
still,
a nice cushion.
to this day, I forget that this last segment is shorter than all the other ones.
Yeah, only goes to 54. So you've got 8 minutes.
52. It's even shorter than that.
What? 52 now?
It's been like that. That's where you start hearing your music.
Okay. 833. Well, you've basically got until 1:50 to call us. 833-288-0973. If you'd like to dial us in and ask a question. One guy called in and he had a great question, but his phone was not good. Yeah, it wasn't hanging
So
in.
bad.
So we couldn't stick him to put it on the air, but we will relay his question. He asked, which San Diego sports team do we think will win a championship, will win the next championship here for our beloved city? You can pick any of them.
Well, I'm just going to go with the Aztecs since they're in March Madness. They were in the championship last year, so I'm going to give it to them.
All right. So you're saying they're going to win it now. Like
They're going to win it now.
They're going to take the next 4 games.
Yeah.
Boom.
Championship won.
Okay. All right. Okay. What about you, Braden? Who do you pick next?
The Wave have been the closest, haven't they? The Wave and the Legion. I mean, they've been like right
the
there.
Legion made it to
knocking on
the
door.
championship game last year.
Right. I would say probably one of those two teams.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet.
I don't think the Aztecs are winning this year. I'd be sick if they do, but I just, I think UConn beats them by 12 over the weekend, but that's my, hopefully that's not the case, but I would probably I'll go with the Legion.
I think that's a really good choice. I thought Legion as well. You can always say Sockers. By the way, the question as to who won the last championship for San Diego sports, the answer is Sockers. 2022. They're 16th.
Not that far away.
No. It's just been, they just didn't win it last year. That's all. They lost in the
Then
semifinals.
they're a safe bet.
Yeah, but I don't think they're the favorite this year. Speaking as Mr. Soccer, I don't think they're the favorite this year. I think the Seals are going to win the championship this year. They are very good this year. They are solid. I've watched multiple of their games. They've got it on all 3 levels. I'm going to say there's been an arena curse. No one else other than the Sockers could win. I think we're going to get out of the arena and then they're going to win. And that's what's going to happen. We got a couple callers calling in. Let's jump them on the air. 833-288-0973 is our number. 833-288-0973. Here's John in San Diego. Hi, John. You're on with Annie and Elsten. Ask us anything.
Hey, how you? I'm going to ask you a question, make a quick suggestion. I heard you talk, Braden talking about mind the gap. That would be a really good thing you guys could do is take some questions and have your own little segment of mind the gap and have people call in and just to kind of get an idea of your demographic and see how many older people are smart on younger stuff and vice versa. But
I like it, John.
Real quick, Beatles or Stones?
Beatles.
It's a tough one.
Stone says Annie. Braden says I've never heard of either.
I've heard of both of them. I'm not really a big fan of the Beatles. They don't do it for me. So I guess by default I'd have to pick the Stones.
Fair enough. They're both very good bands. One of them you use for a bumper and the other you don't.
True. I don't have any Beatles bumpers.
Here's Bill in Escondido. Hi, Bill. You're on with Annie and Elsten. Ask us anything.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Doing great, Bill.
Hey, I have a question. Maybe this will embarrass you. Maybe it won't. I would like to know what happened to Coach Contreras.
Well, Bill, his deal ran out and they moved to a different choice. And then they signed us to contracts. That's what happened. Happens all the time in the business. Shows come, shows go. It's not embarrassing. It's just part of how things happen. Job was posted for a couple months, and then Annie and I got it. And we're thrilled to be here. And thanks for calling in and asking.
And for listening.
Yes, absolutely. We had another question. This is a really important question, actually. And it's one when we were talking Padres earlier, I meant to get to, and it just slipped my mind. They have still not announced the TV setup for this team.
I think it's supposed to come the day. I thought it was like the day before the opening day or 2 days before opening day. So this week, you'll know this week because opening day is on Thursday.
I mean, I would literally, I got an Ask Us Anything from my son's donut duty at church yesterday. My wife texted me like, hey, my buddy Joe wants to know, how is he going to watch the Padres? I'm like, well, how did he watch the Padres last year? And if it's that, it's probably that again. But if it was on cable, I really don't know.
It's a good guess that the way you did it last year is the way that it'll happen this year. But I think that they are in negotiations with providers. So how that shakes out.
How is it not done?
These things usually get done at the last second because people are holding out. It's like, they want them to pay one thing, the provider wants to pay the other thing, and who's gonna win it at the end?
And
who's
it's
gonna blink?
The combo pressure of like, you really want to distribute your product, and then the Padres are like, you really want to carry our product, right? Like, I know you want that. Huh.
Yeah, so it is kind of interesting that we don't have final word on the TV locations for the games yet, but it should be before Thursday. So the good news, the silver lining, is tomorrow or Wednesday.
Yeah, got a couple more days.
Yeah.
And
don't
look,
have to worry about it yet.
Bottom line, one place that it's going to go, which is Padres.tv.
Yes.
Right. So, the MLB app, if you have a smart TV, you can stream it through the MLB app and do it that way. That's the way we do it at home.
And if you're someone who does DirecTV and all those, I would just wait. It's probably going to be the same place you saw it last year.
Hey, I'm willing to roll the dice one more time. If you've learned one thing about me so far, it's that, I got a little gamble in me.
Yeah.
They don't even know if that's
you know how to hold them.
Their name, so you can make a guess.
Yeah.
It's just their caller ID.
Let's go to Joel. Hi, Joel. You're on with Annie and Elsten. Ask us anything.
Hey, Annie Elsten. Hey, I have an awesome question. If you guys had a movie and you guys were and you guys had a movie about yourselves, who would you want to be starred as you?
Oh, wow. Who would play us in our life story picture? Annie, who would you like to play you in a movie?
The woman who just played Barbie. What's her name? She was
Margot Robbie.
Robbie. I'll go with Margot.
That's awesome.
That's a good one.
She's great.
She is great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sure. I mean, I don't deserve her, but like,
Shoot
if
for the
I get to
stars.
pick
Might as well.
anyone, yeah.
Holding back, I guess.
Oh man, now I got to think of someone who's the right age too, because I was just thinking Paul Giamatti would be funny. Like that would be
Paul Giamatti would be hilarious.
I think
Paul
he'd do a
Giamatti
great
being a
job.
radio guy in a movie would be hysterical.
I think so too. Now, Paul Giamatti is older than me. I just want to make that clear. He's got to be like 10, 15 years older than me, but I will none. Well, how old is he actually? Good question. But
My guess, I was gonna say bet. I'm gonna keep it cool. My
easy
guess,
over there.
Ipe. My guess would be that he's older than you.
He's 5 years older than me. He's 56.
Yeah. Could be
56. We're both June births, though, so I feel like we got a lot in common. All right. I'm going to go with Paul Giamatti. Plus, he's got the hair.
Awesome.
He's got the hair for it to do me.
Yeah,
Paul
that's
Giamatti.
great.
That's a classic.
Yeah, it's classic. Exactly.
The Holdovers was a great movie, by the way. If none of you guys saw The Holdovers. Wow, Seabass saying Philip Seymour Hoffman. Okay. I mean, I don't think I deserve it. He was too good. Rest in peace. Rest in power, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Okay. All right. We've still got 3 minutes left in this old thing. Or did you say 1 minute? Did you say it's actually 52? You got to be lying.
No, it's just that's the clock goes at 53. So once the music starts playing, it's over.
Fair enough.
Like I mean, like the bumper, the out cue music. I just feel like it's over.
Wait a second. Is this true? Lynn in the chat says, I just found out Paul Giamatti is Bart Giamatti's son. Is that true?
Well, if it happens in the chat, it must be true.
Hang on. What does Wikipedia have to say? Wikipedia never lies.
Ever.
Parent A. Bartlett Giamatti. Holy crap. I mean, that was today's. You remember who Bart Giamatti is, right?
Nope, I don't. Nope.
Really?
No, I'm looking up.
He
right
was
now.
the commissioner of baseball who suspended Pete Rose.
Oh, well, there you go. All things, time is a flat circle. He's probably has thoughts and opinions on Ipe and Shohei today.
I mean, he's dead. But,
oh, well, if he was alive.
Yeah.
He
had
would.
he had a famous when he was, I think, put in the Hall of Fame. He had a famous poem about baseball is, made to break your heart. It was very.
Does it go baseball is stupid and nobody should watch? Is
Oh, and that would have been that's how it boils down, really. If you start with baseball designed to break your heart, then that's stupid. Why would you watch it, right?
Yeah,
Right.
true. Like watching a scary movie if you don't like being scared.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Wow. That just blew my mind. Like I had no idea.
Now you're even more connected to him.
Yeah, a little. Bart Giamatti had to live through a very tortured time in life. He was the guy in the biggest scandal of my childhood, Pete Rose.
Yeah.
The mid to late 80s. Pretty incredible. Okay. All right. Well, damn.
The things you learn.
Now I feel like this was really a productive show. Okay. I mean, we provided content for the American public for 4 hours, for San Diego's faithful for 4 hours, but now I learned something.
Oh, yeah. You're walking away. You are not walking away empty handed.
All right. That's going to bring a wrap to the show. I was going to do a delve deck, but I mean, in a minute, what's the point? Thanks to everybody who called in. This was a fun segment. It was also informative. And, we got a stand in there. So we're still weeding them out of the audience. Just
Good show.
One
By
at a
tomorrow, more Padres talk. We'll be able to get to Aztecs leading the way into Thursday's game.
Dylan Cease pitching at Petco Park.
Yeah.
Dylan Cease.
Lots to talk about.
We will not desist in talking about Dylan Cease tomorrow. Hopefully, it's a great one. Thanks to Tony Sanchez for joining us, San Diego.futbol for all of the coverage of the San Diego soccer scene. Thanks to Annie Halpern. Thanks to Braden Soprenet. I'm Craig Elsten. This has been Annie and Elsten. We'll talk to you at 10 on The Fan.